You are now listening to Testimonies with Terry.
Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Testimonies with Terry. I'm your host, Terry Skaggs, and today I get to talk with a woman who has done a lot of life for just turning 19 years old. Starting to play drums at 4 years old, she talks about her journey of touring the world with her sisters in the band Gold, Frankincense and Myrrh, otherwise known as GFM. Spending her whole childhood in the music industry, you'll hear how she was affected by it both positively and negatively, and the toll it took on her mental health. Deciding to step away from the band to focus on her mental health, she opens up about how she's battled anxiety, ADHD, and OCD, and what has worked for her to get her mental health to a solid state. Now chasing after her dream of being a full-time streamer and content creator, you'll find out how God has continued to open up doors to make that dream a reality. You may know her from streaming as Ludawissy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Lulu English's testimony. All right, guys. Well, I am here with streamer, content creator, drummer, artist, and host of the LudaCast, Lulu English, also known as Luda, also known as Ludawissy, also known as new driver in the state of Florida. Am I missing anything else here, Lou?
Oh my goodness, I didn't realize how many things I've done.
Right. Yeah, and I was actually thinking about that as I was getting ready this morning, Lou, is you're only 18, but holy moly, you've done a lot of life in those 18 years.
Yeah, I feel it. I feel it.
It's crazy. It's crazy. God's already done so much in your life. And he's just getting started. He's got plenty more for you. And I'm excited to get into talking about the Ludawissy brand here and just kind of the doors he's opening with that. But man, Lou, I just like to start at the beginning with people's stories. And there was a name that I missed because I know you don't particularly like talking about that name, but I feel like it's just something people need to know is that your real name is Evie. Correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So I'm curious, how did that become a thing where it's just like, no, I don't like going by Evie, like call me Lulu, call me Lulu.
So actually I'm named after the Mummy movies. It was my mom's favorite movies growing up, or I guess like whenever she watched them. And so the girl's name was Evelyn and her nickname was Evie. And so they wanted to call me Evie from that. And literally ever since I can remember, my middle name is Louise, and so they started calling me Lou, and then from Lou it was Lulu, and literally was never called Evie unless I was in trouble. Like I got a Evie Louise English, and that's when I knew I was in trouble. But everyone here like calls me Lulu. The only people that ever called me Evie was like our jiu-jitsu coach, and like my aunt will sometimes call me it, but no one in my life even calls me by my real name. And so whenever I hear people call me it, it's just like whoa, what did I do? Because it's like I feel like legally my name is Lulu. I will literally sign thing as Lulu English, and I have to be like, oh, legally I can't do that. Like I've genuinely thought about going to get Lulu added to my name just so I can legally sign as it, because I don't use it ever. Like nobody calls me it ever. So it just kind of slowly became everyone just knew my name as Lulu, and I would like not respond to Evie. Like people at school would call me Evie, like teachers, and I wouldn't answer. And they'd be like, is your kid okay? Like, she's not answering to her name. And my parents would be like, oh, she doesn't, like, we don't call her that. So she probably doesn't even, like, she doesn't even know you're calling her. So I don't know, like everyone in my family kind of has nicknames and no one even calls them by their real name. So I guess it's just kind of got passed down and I don't even have my real name anymore, but I love Lulu. Like I think it's amazing. So
yeah, no, it's awesome. And I can kind of relate. I mean, just that negative connotation associated with being called by like your legal name. Like I go by Terry, but my legal name is Terrence. Nobody calls me Terrence unless like man, I'm in trouble, then it's just like, okay, well then that name comes out. So I totally get it. And
Yeah.
I love the nickname Lulu, and we'll have to talk about where Ludawissy comes into, because I think that's great too. But Lou, let's start at the beginning. I know you're born and raised in Florida, in
hmm
Jacksonville, and again, I mean, your story starts out like right away here, because I know you started playing music at a very young age. So
hmm
let's kind of talk about just kind of growing up a little bit. You know, when did you start playing drums? What was family life like for you in those early stages of your life? You can kind of take this wherever you want to.
So I started playing drums or getting lessons at 4 years old. But ever since I can remember, I was always like beating on things and using like utensils. My parents are like, "Why?" No one in our family had ever done music. We didn't watch people. We went to a very like old church, so there was no like instruments at all. It was just voices. So they don't know why I even wanted to, but I was like, I want to play drums, and they were like, "Yay!" Fantastic.
Every
So
parent's dream, right?
yeah, I literally was like, if I have kids, they're not allowed to play drums. Absolutely not. But so they took me in at 4 to go get lessons, and my instructor, name was Sean. He was like, usually we don't take kids until they're around like 10, just because like this is a very young age. But he was like, we'll give her like a 30-minute lesson and we'll see. And my mom was like, just take her off my hands for 37 minutes. Like, just let her beat on some pair of drums. And my mom says that he came back with like wide eyes and was like, can I please teach your child? Like, I don't know how she knows how to do all this, but like she already knows like the fundamentals. And so my mom, because they always wanted us to play piano, they just wanted us to be like well-rounded people. So we took like golf lessons for a little and piano, and I was in ballet. They just kind of let us do everything to kind of be like, what do you want to do in life? And so I went into drums and I started playing drums just for fun. Like I was playing covers or whatever. And then kind of early on in life, I remember my brain was always very loud. Like I always would tell my mom, like, everyone's talking in my head. And obviously as a parent, you're like, oh no, what does this mean? Like, are they being a kid? Is there something wrong? Like there's a lot of things it could mean. Um, and so my family on my dad's side actually has a line of ADHD and Asperger's. And so my dad was like, it's probably like ADHD because she's very hyper and she won't shut up. And she's constantly saying like she has voices talking. And I couldn't really like, I did well in school, surprisingly. Usually that's a sign that like you have ADHD if you don't do well in school. But I did well in school, but I had just certain like social cue issues. Like I wouldn't know like certain things or when to like not speak or when I was whatever. So my parents wanted to get me tested, but I refused because as a kid, I was like, no one in my family had anything like that, like my immediate family. So I was like, I don't want anything wrong with me. I was like, no, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me at all. Um, and so I never got tested or anything, and it never really impeded my life. So they didn't care that, like, you know what, like we're not gonna force you to do something you don't want. Um, so school was like pretty simple for me until about like I think fifth grade. I've spoken about it a bit. I was bullied in fifth and sixth grade when I was in school. Um, and I don't even really remember why they chose me. Because I was pretty like quiet, but I was like, I did my best. Like my parents always told me, like, do your best. You don't have to get straight A's, but if you failed when you know you could have done better, like don't slack off, basically. Like do your best. We just want you to be trying your hardest. And so I was in there, like, I was like, all right, do my best. I'm gonna study. I'm gonna turn things in on time. And I guess people didn't like that, that I like teachers liked me. I was like, I'm sorry that I'm paying attention. But so I got bullied in fifth and sixth grade. And I remember specifically because I think it's so funny that I was bullied for video games because for technology day at school, I wasn't allowed to have a phone. I didn't get one until I was 18. So like I didn't have a phone or anything. So every kid brought like an iPhone or an iPod. And I brought my DS with my little DS games. And I had like a straight up like side bag with like it had all of my like 64 games it could carry, and it could carry 2 DSs. I was like, this is so sick. People are gonna think I'm so cool. And so I brought it in, and like everyone was like, what is that? Like, you nerd. It was like the classic like making fun of the nerd. And I was like, I grew up loving video games. My dad introduced me to video games when I was like 4. I was playing Left 4 Dead. So like we all played video games. So I was like, what do you mean? Like everyone plays video games. What? Like this is cool, guys. What are you saying? And so that was like the first time I felt like, oh, like I'm not, what I do isn't what people like. I was like, this is weird, because all my like friend, like my family and my cousins, which were my friends, like thought it was all cool. Like they thought video games were sick. So I was like, this is weird. And then from there, just like friends that I wanted to be friends with, I literally have my room right now is painted like a mint green, one of the walls. I literally had it painted that color because the people I want to be friends with are like, if you paint your wall like this color, like we think you're cool. And so I literally went home. My mom was like, why are you paint like you don't like this color? I was like, yes, I do. I love this color now. This is the color I like. And she was like, you hate this color. And I do. I don't like the color at all. But I thought people would like me if I did it. And so 5th and 6th grade were rough. And then in 6th grade, it got almost to the point of like physical, like people got expelled. And I was like, I didn't know what was going on, because I was like, I'm not being problematic, am I? I was like, I feel like I minded it myself. Like I'm not trying to pick fights. And they got mad because I was always friends with guys, just because I did jujitsu, I played video games, like I played drums. And so I just made friends with guys easier. And they got mad at that. They were like, we're trying to date this guy. And I'm like, I don't want to date him. I'm just trying to play Xbox with him. Like, what? What in the world? We're in 6th grade. So that's also when the band kind of started to tour more, and we were to the point of missing so many days. The school was like, we're gonna have to like kick you out if you keep missing days. Like we can't really keep missing this many days. My parents were like, all right, fine, like you guys want to go homeschool? And we were like, sick, yeah, sure. So I went 7th grade was my first year of homeschool and doing the band full time. And it actually kind of like started the rise of GFM, and we started touring more and just kind of picking up our work. And at first it was a really like easy, like, all right, get my schoolwork done. I can just hang out until I got to do stuff with the band. And it wasn't until later on in those years that it started to get a little bit like, every single hour you're working, like I'm either doing school, I'm editing, I'm doing interviews, I'm going on tour. Like I kind of felt like I didn't have control of my life, and I wasn't able to like decide what I wanted to do, because at any second it's like being on call. I couldn't really start something because any second I was like, all right, we got to do this. Like I would literally have to wait to take my timed like quizzes for school, because it was like I could need to be somewhere at any second. So I'd wait till like 2 a.m. to take like a timed quiz, because it's like, all right, hopefully no one needs me at 2 a.m. So it started to get a little like very busy. But again, we were kids, we were teenagers. So it's like, we didn't care. We were literally like, I was going to Germany. I was like, this is sick. Literally like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I guess we're doing it. And so we were like super, super busy. And I guess to touch on my faith side, I grew up in the church. My parents were Christian, and they have their whole story and their testimony. I actually didn't hear like fully till I got older, which their testimony is like, wow, like that's crazy. So we grew up in the church, and it was kind of the thing where it's like, I don't want to go to church. Like as a kid, you're like, I don't want to go do this. This is like stupid.
Yep.
And so we went like Wednesday night, Sunday morning, Sunday night. And I remember being like, I don't care. Like, it's so boring. I've heard the same thing over and over and over. And at 4, I remember specifically my mom and dad sitting with me under the bunk bed and me being like, so like, what is getting saved? Like, I remember being like, so what is this all about, really, guys? Like, come on, let's be honest here.
What am I getting into?
Yeah. My dad was walking me through getting saved. He was like, we're here. He drew on a piece of paper like, this is where we are. And then it was a huge gap, and he was like, and then this is where God is. And he was like, and down here there's fire, and we can't obviously make that jump. And he was like, but Jesus died on the cross so that we have a bridge to get to heaven. And he drew like a cross sideways, and he was like, this is how we can get to heaven. And I remember that night being like, oh, I want to go to heaven. Like, I want to do that. And they were like, okay, let's talk to Pastor Sunday and you can talk about it. And I think that kind of scenario made me be like, oh, so I have to wait for him to get me saved. And so then when I went in Sunday, he said this whole prayer, and he was like, you say it in your heart. But growing up, I was like, I was 4. Did I really know it? Like, I was just repeating what he was saying. And so I don't know if like on my bed that night, because I was like, I want to do that. Like, I want to follow Jesus, if I got saved then, or if it was just a seed planted in my life so that later on it could be watered. But growing up, I constantly was like, every night, I'd literally be like, God, please save me, please save me. Like, I don't want to go to hell. Please save me, please save me. And like fall asleep doing that. Or like randomly throughout the day, I'd be like, I don't feel saved anymore. Oh my word, what if I'm not saved? And my mom was like, it's not a feeling, like it's a choice. But I didn't really understand that until later on, I guess. So back to like kind of where we were in the story. Because I didn't have any control in my life, I started to seek control elsewhere. I was trying to find something because I couldn't control my work. I couldn't control my life. I couldn't control my brain. My brain was still getting very loud. I couldn't sleep. I was up all night. And so I started to develop issues with food. And it was just something that I could control in my life. And my brain, my very young, like developing brain, obviously was like, fine, like a sense of like peace, a sense of something we can control. And so from like 14 to like 16, 17, I fell into deep anorexia, and I was just constantly like that was where I found my peace, which is really like twisted, but it's like that's the only sense of control I had over my life. And I also was under the pressure of people constantly talking about me. And ever since I was like 7, I literally was out playing in front of people. They were constantly making comments about me or my age or my body or how good I was at something. And so to my brain growing up, I was like, okay, the better I am at something, the more people like me, and the like more I'm worth something to someone. And so getting bullied growing up, like all I wanted was someone to like me, you know, like all I wanted was someone to be like, oh, I want to be friends with her. And so now like I look this certain way and I can play drums really well. Everyone likes me. Like, so of course I'm going to keep it up. And so on top of that, touring constantly at that age, I was hearing stories that like therapists here, like people were just dumping so much onto me. And I always tell people, because people come into my chat and they're like, I'm so sorry if I ever did that. And it's like, it, first of all, like I appreciate anyone who comes in and is like, hey, if I ever overstep things, like, but I was at an age that I couldn't set that boundary. So it's no one's fault. Like I wasn't able to set that boundary. I didn't know I needed to. And they were just doing what we said, which was like, hey, if you need help, come speak to us, come talk to us. But there were just, and the people that come and apologize, it's like, you never did anything. Like, you're not the person I'm talking about. I don't even have like a person in my head. There was just, I would hear countless and countless, like in detail stories about just all of this trauma, like sexual assault and, like abortions being like people doing it. And I'm like 14, 15 hearing these things like in depth, like how it happened and people being like, hey, like give me a reason to stay alive. Like, I don't want to be alive. Please tell me. And it's like, if I don't tell them the right answer, like their life is on my hands, which isn't correct. Like obviously that's not the case.
Yeah.
But at 14, 15, you don't know that. So I would get back in the van and be like, oh my goodness, I hope I said the right thing. Like if I didn't say the right thing, what if like, and I'll never know if they're okay. Cause like I didn't get their number or anything. And so it was just really, really hard. Like it was starting to become impactful on my mental. And I didn't know, because we didn't grow up in a place where we like talked about our emotions or anything. Like that wasn't who we were. We all like kept to ourselves. And so I just remember being like, I thought it was normal. I thought everyone felt that way. And I was like, oh, I guess it's just because like I care about people that I'm thinking about this. But it was starting to really impede just my sleep, because I just felt like heavy. Like I had all this stuff in me. I didn't know what to do with it. And so I remember specifically my brother invited us to a sermon he was going to teach, or whatever it's called, but he was going to teach it at his church. And I was like, fine, like I'll go. I'll go for you guys. Because I was at a church that I actually liked, and they were it was a younger church, so it was teachings that I enjoyed and I could actually apply it to my life. And I was like, okay, this is nice, because our old church literally told us we were going to hell for playing metal music. They were like, you are Satan worshipers. And it's like,
dude, are you
I
serious?
literally am out here witnessing to atheists. Like I am seeing atheists actually take their time to speak with me and be like, huh, like I've never thought about that. Thank you for telling me. And it's like, what?
Wow,
You're telling
Lou.
teenagers that they're going to hell for playing metal music.
Wow.
So we had actually switched churches and it was going a little better. And I remember at his teaching, he was just talking about like, all I remember is he was talking about like how you have to give God the control of your life, and how if you're trying to control things and like do it all, it's not gonna go well. Cause like obviously we can try, but what are we gonna do? You know, like we can try our hardest, but so I remember that sermon just kind of talking to God, and I count it as rededicating my life towards it. And I used to be like, well, did I actually? Because I don't remember the exact day. I only remember it was in November. Like I don't know if it actually happened. And I finally was able to just get peace of like that day. I know I fully gave myself to God, and it didn't fix everything. I didn't immediately just get better and have no issues. But I remember that day being like, God, I am trying to control all of this. And I'm finally ready to just give it to you. I'm finally ready to stop worrying. I'm finally ready to just give my life to you, give you the control back. I'll take a step back. I'll stop trying to find my peace within things and just help me with what I'm going through. And then it was that next January that my parents actually found out about what I was dealing with, and they tried to help me through it. And it was a very, very long process. And I mean, obviously, still, you go through something like that, it affects you. Like, it's a lot of people say if you go through it, it's going to affect you for the rest of your life. And so there's things that still, like, if I get super stressed out, or if I feel like my brain's kind of spiraling, my brain will be like, oh, like, I know I can control that. But it definitely is like completely not where it used to be. And I can actually just enjoy life and enjoy food and work out because I enjoy working out, and it helps my mental, not because I'm like, I got to do this. So,
Yeah.
I remember that's where I feel like I personally got saved, or at least gave my life to God, because I think it is a completely different thing. You can be saved and still trying to control your life. So I just say that during that time is when I gave my life fully to God and was like, all right, God, wherever you tell me to go, wherever you tell me to do, like, I'm gonna do it, or at least try, like, try to know where you want me to go. So uh we kept touring, and we kept writing music and all of that. And it was super fun. Like, it literally was a blast, and I wouldn't change anything about it. Like, I had so much fun. I met literally my best friends on the road, and half of them were like twice my age, but it was like, that's my best friend right there. And then I remember like our biggest thing was getting to tour with Chris Jericho and Fozzy, and
Yeah.
that was huge. And obviously, I was younger, and I was like, oh, like, this is sick. And then seeing people like freak out, there was like, you're on tour with Chris Jericho, and it was like, yeah, he's a wrestler though, like, this is sick. And they're like, no, you don't understand, this is like Chris Jericho. So it was really fun to get to just meet them and be on the road with them. And again, growing up in the industry is very hard to like see people as more than just like friends, and like like when you're not in it, it's like, oh, these people are like these big, massive, like people. But when you tour with them, it's like, nah, I was waiting for the shower because of him. Like, I don't like him. So it was never like this like fangirl thing, I guess. But it was sick. It was sick to see him on the road, and obviously knowing that like he is higher up, he doesn't have to speak to us. Like, whatever he says goes. And he was so nice. It was so nice to us, and constantly just there for us, like whatever we needed. He was like, just let me know. And I was like, hey, sick, like, this is cool. My parents were always like, you act so chill with him, like, you need to act like he's Chris Jericho. I was like, nah, he's my homie, I don't gotta act like nothing.
He's just Chris.
Yeah, I was like, it's just Chris. And actually, I think it was 2021 in October when I first started streaming. Because growing up, I always had a camera in my hand. I always was filming. Because I was a loner, like, I didn't have friends. I would literally come home from school, set my camera up, and just film short films. I would be every character. I would dress up. Like, my family was there, like, she is an idiot. What is she doing around the house as these like different people? And I loved it. I loved acting. I loved putting on a show. I would randomly have like dance parties for my family. They could come down and watch me for like 2 hours, literally put a playlist on and just dance. And they would sit there, and I'm sure my siblings were like, please, can we leave this misery? And my parents were like, no, we're going to sit here and watch your sister. But I loved entertaining ever since I can remember, and just making other people laugh. And obviously they were laughing like at me because I looked stupid. But to me, I was like, they're smiling. I'm doing something good. So I started watching streamers on the road, and especially like with long nights, I just had so many sleep issues on the road, because I mean, you get off stage at 2 a.m., you have all this adrenaline, and then it's like, all right, go to bed in the car. And it's like, I can't go to sleep.
Right.
So I would watch streamers, and I realized, I was like, oh, I want to do that. Like, that's sick. They play video games and they get to entertain people. And so I finally was able to start in October. I started my channel and I was like, all right, I feel like this is what I really want to do. Like drumming is sick, but I was like, this is what I really want to do. Um, but of course, I was like, so many people try and nothing comes of it. And I was like, okay, I feel like I can do it, but I feel like no one thinks I can, so I'm gonna do it. And my first stream, it was like a 5 hour long stream, and I had like I think 20 to 30 people, and like that's a lot for someone who's their first stream. Um, and I remember being like, "Oh my word, I'm gonna do this!" Like after that stream, I was like, "I'm gonna do this. This is what I'm gonna do." Like I feel so cool, like to myself. Like it didn't matter what other people thought. I was like, I just entertained 20 to 30 people. I was like, this is sick. So ever since then I kept streaming and I would play games or just do just chatting and stuff. But it wasn't until the Jericho tour that I started streaming drum cams and would stream every night that I played. And our sound man, actually, Mr. Isaac, gave me this little device. He was like, here, hook this up and it'll plug into the sound system so they can hear actually what's going on. Because he would watch my streams every night when we got back in the bus. I literally could hear him watching my streams and he'd be like, oh my word, you did such a good job. Like people are loving it. And he'd be like, oh, someone in chat said this. And I was like, you're so sweet. What in the world?
Shout out to Isaac.
Yeah. And so ever since like when he gave me that little box, streams started doing like insane. Like they were doing great. Everyone comment. And I was like, oh my word, like this is actually crazy. Like I'm actually streaming, like I'm doing this and I'm able to play drums at the same time. I was like, this is wild. But because I was doing GFM and those are both full-time jobs. Like it's not like one is less work than the other. So I was staying up to like 4 or 5 a.m. editing to make sure I could get both people done. And then I had to do college work on the side because I was dual enrolling. So I was just up all night. And so that tour really, really just kind of wrecked me because I was just up all night and I had already been dealing with a lot of just like anxiety and I didn't know what it was because again, we didn't talk about things and I thought like anxiety was just constantly being like worrying and I was like, I'm not worrying. I was like, I don't have anxiety. I literally was like one of those people who was like, anxiety isn't real. That's not a thing. And so I remember it was like one festival where we were talking with lines and lines of people and I think we sat at the table for like 5 hours and it was just one out of like every 3 people was just like I just don't want to be here anymore and they're my age. Like it's not like I'm talking like I'm looking at people my age being like how can I try to help save this person's life. And I remember that was the first time I actually like broke down and started crying. I had to leave the merch table and I was like, can you just give me like a second? And I was like, I just felt so sad for them. And everyone in my family knows I'm a very like empathetic person. Like if you're feeling something, I feel it as well. Like if you're happy, I'm happy. And that's why I love making people happy because it's like, that's when I feel happy. But the bad thing about it is like, if you're sad, I feel sad too. Cause it's like, I feel the way you're feeling. And so it was just like putting those feelings on myself. It just broke me. And I remember starting that day, like I just felt burnt out. It was the first time I actually felt burnt out of everything. And I was like, I just feel like I can't talk. Like I'm an introvert too. So it was just like a whole bunch of just like, I just don't want to speak. I was literally just mute for a couple of days in a row. We had a show the next day. So it's like, all right, put on your like show face, like go smile, go talk to people. And so I had gotten testing done before the Fozzy tour. Because I came home and my grades were starting to drop and I was like, I just can't focus. I was like, my brain is so loud. I feel like there's 50 people in my head talking and like everyone's wanting to do something different. So I can't actually focus. And I would try to like read things and it just sounded like gibberish in my head and I couldn't sleep. I was going like 24 hours without sleeping, 48 hours without sleeping. Like I was just laying in my bed worrying about everything. Like I would sit there and even my like best friends, I would start to worry like, what if something happens to them? Like they're on the road, they're on tour. Oh my word, what if something like I would have to call and be like, are you okay? Are you safe? And they're like, yeah, we're good. Like, thanks for checking up on us. And so I was starting to get really bad. So I told mom, I was like, I think I have ADHD and I would like to get tested. because I just need direction. I was like, I need to be told where to look. I'm a very, like, I need to do research. I need to know how to fix myself. So I was like, I just need a professional to tell me what's wrong with me, basically. And so that was a really hard process because growing up, we never talked about that stuff. So my parents never made that like a thing. Like, they're like, you can come to us with whatever. We just never felt comfortable doing so. So whenever I came to her, she was like, you've never mentioned this before though. Like, are you sure? So it was kind of hard to be like, yes, I'm not, like, please don't doubt this. Like, I've been dealing with this for like years. I just never like talked about it. So it was kind of hard there for a little. And then when I got tested, I went through like 5 to 6 hours of online testing, answering questions, like all this stuff. And that lady was really nice. But they diagnosed me with anxiety. But she said like anxiety and ADHD have a lot of the same indicators, and sometimes people have anxiety because of their ADHD, but you got a higher percentage of anxiety, so we can't say you have both. She's like, if you would like to try to figure this out with anxiety, come back later. We can diagnose you with ADHD. So I was like, 6. So you're basically saying, try this. If it doesn't work, come back. We can try the other one. I was like, great. So we didn't really get anywhere. And so they told me like, hey, maybe you can try a therapist. And I did not want to go to therapy. I was like, I can't talk about my emotions. Like, I just can't. I will physically sit there and we will get nowhere. I was like, this is not going to work. And so we tried, because I was under 18 when we tried, I had to go to a minor one, and my mom had to come with me. And so we both sat there, and the lady was obviously like, she was obviously 4 kids. So I don't blame her. I'm not like, I did for a while. I was like, she was the worst therapist ever. I don't like her. But like, I understand she is 4 kids. Like, she's not for almost 18-year-olds, but her like biggest advice was like, just don't worry and blow on this pinwheel anytime you feel anxious. And I literally, that was the most anxious I have ever felt in my entire life. I remember literally feeling like the room was closing in, like my heart was speeding up. I was like, I can't get out of here fast enough. I was starting to like feel like I was going to cry. And I was like, I can't cry in front of my mom. Like, this is going to be the most embarrassing thing ever. So my mom was sitting there with me, like trying to help me. She was like, hey, it's good. Like, let's do this together. But I was like, you guys don't understand. I'm not dealing with this. Like, I don't need to breathe. Like, I know how to breathe. Like, it's more than this. And it just, obviously, she's 4 kids. She didn't understand my occupation. She didn't understand what I went through. But that really, really scarred me just of therapy, because I left there like feeling the most anxious I've ever felt. And even my mom, she was like, that didn't really help, did it? And I was like, absolutely not. And so even now, I still can't do breathing exercises when I have panic attacks because of that. If I try to like do the rhythm breathing, where it's like breathe in for 3, breathe out for 4, I get sent back to that office. It's the weirdest thing I have ever had, but I literally get sent back to that place. And so now I literally can't do breathing exercises for my anxiety. It was wild. It was a wild experience. So I went on the road having nothing, basically. I just had like, hey, you have anxiety or ADHD. We don't really know. And so when we got back from the tour, I was burnt. I literally had a countdown on my phone of like how many days left to we're home. I was struggling. I've had my first panic attack, I think, a couple months before that tour, and I didn't know what was going on. I thought I was just being overdramatic. I literally was like, I think I'm just being overdramatic and like being emotional about this. So it doesn't really matter. And I had made an online friend, and we would play video games, and they were like, no, I think what you're describing is a panic attack. And obviously growing up, not talking about, I was like, no, I don't do it. I was like, no, that's not what I'm doing. And so they were trying to push me like, hey, maybe you should reach back out to a therapist. And I was like, absolutely not doing that again. Nope. And so they were trying to be there for me, but like almost every night of the Fozzy tour, I would have a panic attack in my bunk, because you're in a closed off space, everyone's asleep, and I'm just sitting there thinking. My brain is just spiraling. And then I feel like I'm in a little box already. And so like my brain starts to like close everything. I literally thought like I was going to die every single night of that tour. And I just like, it's on me for not going to people about it, but I just felt like I couldn't. I was like, I can't talk about this. Like, people are going to think I'm insane. And so my sisters were really there for me because obviously they could tell something was going on. I mean, I was completely exhausted. So they would really help me. They're like, hey, if you can't do like VIPs today, like just let us know. We'll just let them know like you're not feeling the best and just like sit in the back. Because we were the second, we'd get up at like 7 a.m. to go into Plant Fitness to take a shower because we couldn't get a shower that like the night before we had to drive.
Yep.
So I can't go back to sleep. So I'm sitting in the back of the bus trying to do college or edit. And then we get there. And the second you get there, you have to unload. And once you're done unloading, you have VIP. And once you have VIP, you have to get dressed. And then it's time to perform. And you're back in the bus trying to finish school. And then you have to get sleep somewhere in between there. And then we stopped at a rest stop. Like, this is your one only time to get food. And it's like, okay, I have dairy problems and gluten problems. I can have like a pickle. That's it. Like, I can't eat anything here. So they were very, very like them. I think they really helped me not get completely worse on the tour because our family, like we ran it as a business. Like it was not just like, all right, like family time. Like, no, you are our employee. So like you got to do your job. And so it was really hard for them, like my parents to be like, why are you not at VIP? And my sisters would be like, she's not going. Like, you guys can get upset, but she's going to the back. Like, she just doesn't feel well. And so stepping away from VIP a couple of times helped, but I felt so guilty. I was like, they're paying to come talk to us and I'm not there. Like, what? And they're like, you can't, like, that doesn't matter, Lou. Like, you have to stay in the back. You're not feeling well. And no one knew I had anxiety. No one knew what I dealt with. None of our fans knew. And so obviously I couldn't talk about it on social media. So people were just like, Lou's not coming to the VIPs. Like, does anyone know where she's at? And so I'm just having to sit there and be like, oh my goodness, now people are wondering where I am. And they're just going to think I'm just sleeping and don't care to show up. And obviously me wanting to make people happy, I was like, I can't be there. Oh my word. And so after we got home from the Fozzy tour, my streams were picking up like big time. They were like actually being able to do it consistently. And I was starting to slowly get more comfortable with being open on the internet because GFM was a business. Yes, we were personal with our fans, but we didn't really go past a certain thing because it was a band. Like, you didn't need to know about our personal life, really. Like, we were a band.
Yep.
And so getting to talk to them, my people, I would start to slowly open up about like my sleep issues because I'd be like, you look very tired. And I'd be like, you know what? I'm sick and tired of hearing these comments. I am tired. I don't sleep, guys. And so slowly being more open about that. And I realized like the more I talked about what I dealt with, the more people in my chat were like, oh, I've been dealing with that too. Like, thank you for being open about this because I thought I was the only one. And I was like, oh my word. Like, I can help people by being open about what I'm dealing with. And so I slowly started talking about my anxiety and my ADHD and what I dealt with. And slowly more and more people literally at shows would like give me space. And they would be like, they wouldn't come up to me. Like, they'd be like, hey, I love your stuff. And then kind of like drift off. And I was like, this is different. And people would be like, hey, like, I hope you felt comfortable at the show. Like, we just want to make sure you're good mentally. So we're trying to like not bombard you as much. And I was like, oh, this is so like kind. Like, I don't want people to think they're bombarding me, but at the same time, like when you are an anxious person and people are all like surrounding you, it can get very scary in your own head. So
Yeah,
it was like so cool to see them slowly being able to help me. And so we kept touring a little bit after the Fozzy tour, and then we took, I think from the Fozzy tour, there's a bit of a break. So we were writing music and everything. And I started to really realize that my head was not slowing down. Knowing I had anxiety was not fixing it. And so I was like, I don't know what to do because my brain was constantly going. And even at like studio sessions, I couldn't sit there and write. I literally would be pacing and people were like, oh, that's how she writes. And I was like, I'm literally just trying to figure out what's going on, guys. So I slowly like started kind of stepping away from live streams and from studio sessions. And I felt bad about it because obviously like this is my dream. I love writing music, but everyone in my life was like, you need to prioritize yourself first or you're going to get back into that place you were at where you were depressed and you were having issues. Like, you don't need to be back there. And so it got really, really bad for a chunk of time, and I started to see a counselor. It was actually someone Maggie had worked with before, just because she has a psychology degree, so she was like interning for her. Um, and she had told me before, she was like, "You should see if she has any openings," and I was like, "Nope, not doing that again." And so I got to the point where I was like having very just scary thoughts. I didn't personally like, I wanted to be alive. I wanted to enjoy Earth. I wanted to be here and make other people happy. But it was almost as if my brain was like, I'm done. Like, I just want to be unconscious 24/7. Like, I don't want to be thinking. Like, it was just exhausting. And so I was like, okay, I need to get help because I've been here before and I've not wanted to be on this earth. So I need to make sure that I continue to want to be here. So I was like, all right, I finally got to the point where I was like, I'll just give it a shot. I'll go in. I was like, this is going to be the pinwheel lady all over again. It's going to be a pinwheel. She's going to tell me to blow on a pinwheel. And I went in and I just kind of like, I was like, I'm not going to be able to talk about what I deal with. No one ever understands. No one ever gets it. Or they all like freak out. They're like, oh my word, she's like, we gotta help her. And it's like, I don't need that. I don't need someone freaking out about me. And so I went in and literally it was just an hour session with her. And I just like unloaded everything on her. I was like, she's like, so like starting to ask questions. And I was like, why am I telling her this? Like, I don't trust this lady. Why am I telling her all of these things? And she had actually dealt with some of the things I had dealt with. And so she was able to be like, I've dealt with this too when I was younger. This. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, I feel very like embarrassed that I'm telling her all of this, but I feel better that at least someone gets it. I was like, she gets it. She gets what I'm dealing with. And she was like validating my emotions and feelings without freaking out about it. And I'd never had that before. Anyone I ever told was like, oh my word, you need to get help. Like this. She was just like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, yeah, that makes total sense. I was like, oh my word, she's validating what I'm going through. She's not blaming it on me. She's not blaming it because I just play video games too much. Like some people were like, oh, you have anxiety because you play video games. I was like, that's the only thing that helps me. What? How is that the video game's fault? So it was honestly, and I tell her all the time. And I was like, honestly, you are a godsend. And I really feel like you like saved my life because I was just mentally out of it. I was on autopilot, just going through the motions. Like I was so disengaged and everything made me exhausted. And she was able to explain burnout to me. And she was like, you are burnt out. She was like, people 50 years old come in and are like having this feeling. She was like, you're 18 having this feeling. She's like, you've been through a lot. And she also was able to explain that all of the stories I had heard, I didn't have a traumatic childhood. I had a great childhood. Like my parents were amazing. And so I never felt like I could say I had trauma. And I was like, I don't like that. Like for other people, yes, it is. I've seen it. I've seen that it's valid. I was like, but for me, it's not. And she was able to explain that like you have trauma because like those people telling you their stories, your body then took it as your own. And she was like, so your brain was developing, hearing these things. And it felt like, oh, I've been through this. Like, oh, I've been through all of these things. So it's trying to protect you and it's trying to like help you. And she's like, the brain is very powerful. So your overthinking and your anxiety and your ADHD, like all of this is trying to protect you from your like own self, basically. It was really cool having her explain it. And she also was the one who told me, she was like, I think you have more than anxiety. I think this is a lot of ADHD too. And I was like, thank you, because no one else seems to understand it's not just anxiety. Because I was like, I understand it could be part anxiety. But I was like, I feel like I have a lot of the stuff ADHD people. It runs in my family. Like, why is no one letting me say what I feel like I have? And so she was able to be like, I think you have ADHD too. Like you have a lot of signs of it. And she was like, this could even be why you have anxiety. Like I think if we focus on the ADHD, we can get a lot of this other stuff calmed down. So just talking to her and figuring that out, literally like, I think I've been with her since last year and feel totally different. Like I literally feel like my glow came back. And she even told me like recently I just had a meeting with her and she was like, why are you so happy? And I was like, I look happy again. Yay. Because like when I first met her, I literally just looked like on autopilot. Like I had no emotions. And it wasn't like on purpose. I just like felt like out of it. Like I was like, I don't know why I feel this way. I used to be such a chirpy, happy person. And so she was able to help me. And then that is when I took my step away from GFM, because she helped me through that process. And I was broken about it, because I was like, I plan on doing this for life. Like I planned on touring and doing all this. And she was like, do you feel mentally okay in it? And I was able to be honest. I was able to be like, not really. She was like, that's all that really matters. She's like, God can use you in many different ways. Just because you were able to witness and pray for people and see people come to Christ, she's like, you can do that in any place you go. She's like, it doesn't just have to be there. And
Amen.
she was also like, this doesn't have to be a permanent decision. She was like, you can come back to it. You don't have to say goodbye forever. She was like, but I think if you want to see your mental change, she's like, you need to take a break. And that was really hard, because to me, a break meant I wasn't worth anything, because for me, working, making others happy was the way I felt like I was enough. And so having her be like, I need you to be lazy. She's like, I need you to not work out 2 times a day. I need you to not be training and playing drums. I need you to not be touring. You need to be home and in your safe place. Because I hadn't been home for like months. Like it was the longest time we'd ever been away from home. I would get home for like 3 days and then have to be back on the road. And I am an introvert. I'm a homebody. Like my room is my safe place. And so not being able to be there really was like just anxiety causing for me. And even now going out and going on trips, it still like triggers that part of my brain where it's like, we're not going to be home for a while. Like it's still hard for me, even visiting friends. Like they all, like, bless their hearts, are so accommodating for me. But like, if we're out in public and they can tell like I'm starting to like shut down a little bit or get a little quiet, they're like, hey, let's go home and like chill. And I'm like, thank you so much. I did not want to be out anymore. And it's crazy because I never thought I would be that person, and I never knew how people got there, because I'd heard about it before. I was heard about people who just were anxious to go out and be in public, but I was like, how is that a thing? Like, there's no way. And then actually being there, and it is such a like physical feeling. You just feel like this anxiety start to just go like this to everything inside, and it's starting to like stretch everything, and it's crazy. But slowly over time, I started, because I was having panic attacks every night. Like, and she was like, we need to get this figured out, because she's like, not to scare you or anything, but like, that's really bad for your heart, because you're like hyperventilating and you're super stressed out. You think you are dying. And so she was like, we need to figure this out for your heart wise and your health wise, let alone your mental health. And so slowly over time, I started having less and less. And now it's I wouldn't say rare, but it is a less common thing. And it's usually only if I am working like 24/7. I don't give myself that break, and my body goes back into that like mind space of like, it doesn't matter what I'm feeling. I just got to get this done. And so having her and then friends that I've let know like certain things, like, hey, if I start doing this, like if you'll just like give me some tough love and be like, hey, shut up, go to bed. Like, don't do this.
Some accountability.
So, yeah, it took a while to accept that I wasn't working. And when I stepped down, I literally would just sit in my room and be like, okay, I gotta like work hard on my Ludawissy stuff. Then I gotta like double down on this and get this done. And having friends like actually come to visit me in person for like the first time. Like I didn't have friends. I didn't hang out with anybody. Like because of the band, you can't have a social life really. Cause like, hey, can you come hang out? No, sorry, I'm on tour. And it's like, no one really wants that. No one wants a friend that can never come hang out. And so
Right.
finally making online friends where you don't ever like get to hang out in person, becoming best friends with them and then having them come visit me, which is strange. It's like, wait, I only know you by your gamer tag. Why are you here? But having them come visit me and just kind of be able to be like, hey, like you don't have to work right now. Like I would literally go to sit down and watch a movie and be like posting or coming up with ideas or editing. And they're like, hey, like, let's just do one thing at a time. If you want to work, let's work. But if we're going to watch a movie, like, let's not multitask anymore. And so just slowing down really helped. And I also feel like God slowly started to bless me with more and more with my stuff and my Ludawissy stuff, because I always said, and I'm able to be so open with my chat, like seeing how it's able to help people. I feel totally just open with them. Obviously, there's sides of me that I'm not going to share just because that's stuff I either need to heal right now without letting other people's opinions in, because I have a hard time, like, other people's opinion, I'll be like, oh my word, they're right. Like, that is what I have to do. Or uh just something I don't feel comfortable sharing it, but I
Sure.
am able to be more open than I ever was and let people know, like, hey, like, I'm not okay today. Like, I had a really anxious day today, so I'm not gonna be chirpy. I'm not gonna put on like a face with you guys. I'm just gonna play games. I'm gonna be quiet. Like, I don't feel like being that. And it's so incredible to have a community that's like, okay, we're here to watch. Like, we're here to just hang out because I feel like they're my friends. So I'm like, I just really need you guys to like just be here. Like, I'm not gonna be entertaining today, and they are literally the best. They're like always on me. They're like, no self-deprecating. Like, you are entertaining whether you're speaking or not. Like, we'll watch you play this game and just chill. And so they are literally like everything to me. But so getting to slow down, God slowly started to bless me with more and more, because if I'm staying up till 4 a.m. editing and I get more people in my community, what's to stop me from staying up till 6 a.m.? Because I'm like, well, now I need to do even more.
Right.
So slowly slowing down and taking days where I didn't work. And that, to other people, it's like, it seems silly, but for 11 years, I had worked 24/7. 24/7, like, and no pay either. So like every day, like just 24/7 without payment. And so now I'm 18. I can't really take a break in my head because I'm like, well, I don't have money. Like, I gotta start a job. I gotta like do this whole adult thing now that I'm actually adult. And so it's been nice to be like, no, like, I'm 18. I'm not 40-year-old with a family. Like, I can take a break. I can take today off. And God slowly started to bless me with more and more. I had like I remember during our hurricane season, I posted a silly TikTok of like, I'm going to stream till the hurricane takes my Wi-Fi away. Like, come count down with me. And it got almost 4 million views. And
Wow.
I was live and my phone started to like glitch on TikTok, because I go live on TikTok and Twitch. I was like, what is wrong with my phone? I was like, why is it, what is happening? It kept like shutting off. Um, and all of a sudden for some reason, I opened up my Twitch to look at myself to make sure I was still live. And it said there was like 400 people watching. And I was like, I was like, this has got to be like messed up. So I like refreshed. I was like, this is glitched. I was like, this is not real. And then all of a sudden, everybody in chat started commenting and following. And they were like, we're here from your TikTok. And that night before, a friend was over and I was like, I'm about to hit 1K. I've been wanting to hit 1K before my 1 year anniversary on Twitch. I was like, but I don't think I'm going to make it. I was at like 700. I was like, I don't think I'm going to make it. I had been praying to God. I was like, just make it clear like what I need to do in life. Like, I want to hit 1K. And it's not about the numbers. To me, it is purely about growing and being able to do this full time.
Yep.
And so I was like, God, like, you know what it takes to do this full time, but you also know what I need. So like, if I'm able to, like, before 1 year to just be able to like do this and have this piece, that'd be great. If I'm able to slowly start doing more and more Ludawissy stuff and less GFM stuff. That was before I had stepped down. And then it was I think 3 days before my 1 year anniversary on Twitch. And I was like, it's not going to happen. I was like, unless something crazy happens, it's not going to happen. And then the next day that happens and everyone is following. And I'm like, oh my word, there's actually 400 people here. And everybody in chat was like, we're here to support you. We're here to like help you. Like, where is the hurricane? Like, how's the hurricane? And that was the first time I ever cried on stream because we hit 1K. We hit 1K followers that day. And I was like, oh my word. Oh, like, this is literally like what I've been praying for. Like, you can say coincidences, you can say all this, but I physically felt, I was like, this is my purpose. Like, I've wanted to do this since I was a kid. I've been filming, I've been watching these people, and now I'm getting to do it. I'm getting to be there. And then like ever since then, I started taking more time for myself. I've had more videos hit like 2 million views, and my Twitch is almost at 2K now. And it's like getting to do it full time. I have a Patreon where people can come and like just join, or there's different like perks and everything. And having that, I can now pay an editor. Like, I have an editor editing my videos and everything. And it wasn't when I was grinding and staying up till 4 a.m. editing and not hanging out with my family, not taking time for myself. It was when I was, honestly, to other people, being lazy. Like, other people be like, how did she get it? She was being lazy. But like, I feel like it was definitely God being like, this is the way. See, like you
Yeah.
have to just trust me. You don't have to kill yourself to get to this position. Like I can help you if you just allow me to. Like stop saying, God, all right, you take the wheel. But hey, turn right up here. Like let me control the car. Like so it's incredible to see where it's at now because I'm not staying up late at all editing because I have an editor. Like and he is absolutely incredible. And that whole thing came to part. Like I don't even know how I got him, and he wanted like $5 a video. I was like, first of all, absolutely not. I'm not doing that to you. You are incredible. But it definitely, I even told him, I was like, I'm not able to pay you what I want right now. But as like I grow, I would love to pay you more. And he was literally like, yeah, I'd love to grow with you. Like, I'm down, let's do it. And I was like, this is literally God. Like, there is no way this human is real. This is literally a God sent too. Um, and just so many people have just shown up to help me. And I'm like, how? I've literally been sitting here doing nothing. Like I've been taking more days just like, all right, I'm not even going to be on media at all. I'm just going to go outside and be with my family and read my books. Like I hadn't read a book in so long. Like just actually enjoying being 18. Like just being a kid and enjoying life. And I'm seeing my content just like take off. And it's not about the numbers. Like I said, it is purely about like, if I could do it right now full time, more than happy. Like I don't need any more people, but it's like right now it's just if I were to move out, I wouldn't be able to do it full time. So it's like I just want to be able to do it full time, and like I don't need to grow anymore after that. Like I feel like my purpose is to entertain and is to help people. And we've had multiple talks just sitting there talking about God and being able to invite people into the discussion who don't even believe in God, but they're there because we're all just respectful of each other. And I wanted to have a place where people felt like they were a part, because growing up I never got to have that. I never got to be a part of a group or be a part of a community. So it was like, if I can provide a place where people feel God's love, even if they're not Christian, like as long as we all just respect each other, I feel like we can all have disagreements. Like we're human. There's no
Yeah.
way we're all gonna think the same thing, even if you are Christian. Like there's no way we're all gonna think the same thing. So it's like as long as we just respect each other, everyone's welcome here. And it's been absolutely incredible to see the community grow, and everyone's just there for each other, and people literally meet up and like hang out together. And it's like I'm getting to do what my purpose is without having to destroy myself. And
Yeah.
it's absolutely incredible because GFM was fulfilling that. I was getting to see people be a part, and I was getting to make people smile, but it wasn't healthy for me. And during that time, I was like, I don't care. Like, I'm getting to do it, so it doesn't matter. But God slowly was like, hey, like, you can do this in a way that's healthy for you. And I wake up literally now, like, I will just happy cry out of nowhere. And I was like, I've never happy cried in my life. What is this? But it's like, just absolutely so happy that I can do my dream. I can have my community, and I can do it in a healthy way that's healthy for me. Like my mental health is progressing so much. My therapist is literally like, you're doing so well. Like keep going. Like you got this. And it's she also kind of acts like a life coach almost, because she's like helping me point me in the right direction of like just making decisions, because I had never made a decision for my entire life, you know? Like I went from being 7 to being in a band. Like I didn't decide what I wanted to do ever.
Yeah.
So she's helping me like make decisions, and um just kind of pointing me where to go in life. And it's really exciting. It's like I just got my driver's license, and it's like I'm actually getting
Congrats.
to like be a normal person for once.
Yeah.
Like, and so it's just really nice. And I also realized and found religious OCD, which I didn't know was a thing at all. Um, and so talking to her, she was like, think that like you have a bit of OCD in you as well. Because growing up I had like the light switch thing, and I had to like click things at certain times, and I just thought again, I was like, I'm just being a kid. Like there's nothing weird about it. Um, and so she was talking to me about like, she's like, you don't have to go get tested. She's like, I can tell you have OCD. She's like, you don't have to go spend money for me to tell you that. But she was like, there's a thing called religious OCD where you take that and you put it with your faith, because obviously it attaches onto whatever is most important to you. Um, and so there's been times where I'm like, oh, is this what God wants me to do? Or I'll be like, oh, I think God told me to do this. Like, I think God's telling me to do this. And there's been times where it's made me so anxious because I'm like, I think God's telling me to cut this person off in my life, but that person's like so important to me. It's like, this person's helping me though, but why do I feel this way? Like, and I don't want to disobey God. So it's like I'm sitting here like having an internal crisis because I'm like, do I have to cut off my best friend? Like what? Um, and just certain things like feeling like I'm not saved, being like, am I saved, God? Like, so I talked to her about it and she was like, it's called religious OCD. And literally every question that's like under what people deal with is things I've had. And I was like, oh my word, that wasn't God. And she was like, no. She was like, that's God's not telling you to do these things. And bless my best friend's heart was literally there the entire time, was like, I don't feel like this is God. So like I'm gonna stay here, you let me know what needs to happen. But so it's just been incredible. And even getting to share that with my community where they're like, oh my word, I had those questions about God too. Um, and it's like, it makes you kind of fear God in a fear way and in a spirit of fear. And it makes you miserable. And so she constantly was just telling me, like, Satan is here to make you miserable. And he wants you to fear God out of an actual fear. And she's like, it's not who God is. He loves you. You don't have to work for him. You don't have to do certain things for him to love you. Um, so getting to have my relationship with God back where it's like, and I'm still working on it because obviously if I think that way for 11 years, like it's going to take time, but, and that's hard for me too because I hate patience. I'm like, I need it fixed now. I have been meeting with you for months. Why is it not fixed?
Yeah.
But having that relationship with God slowly come back where it's like, oh, like God doesn't care what I do in this situation. Like, as long as I'm loving him and loving others, like, I also get to make decisions in life. And so it's nice to have God there and not be afraid of him. Just be like, hey, God, like, look what I did today. Not like, God, is this okay to do today? Like, did I do this right?
Right.
It's been so, so nice. And just getting to share that with my community and seeing so many people be like, oh, I might bring this up with the person I speak with because I think I deal with this too. And it's like, oh my goodness, if I never went through that, they would have never gotten the help that they need. So I'm like, okay, God, I see what you did there. I see what you did. But, and I always tell everyone, it's like, if I had to go through what I did to help more people, I will. Like, I don't care. I'm glad I have a purpose with what I went through.
Yeah.
But I am very open about it because it's like, if I'm not, what I went through was for nothing, you know? Like
Right.
all of the pain and suffering I went through will just be pain and suffering. But if I use it to help others and if I use it to maybe guide people in the right direction of asking someone for help or maybe realizing, oh, like this is what I deal with. I'm not insane. Like then I'm using it for good and I'm using it to help people. So it's just been a really like it was rough for a little. Like it was a little rocky, but now I literally like today, like I told you, I don't have something till 3 and then I'm like I don't have anything planned. And for some people, they'd be like, yeah, it's a normal like Friday afternoon. For me, it's like Fridays used to encase from 8 a.m. to like 2 a.m. And so now it's like I literally wake up when I want. I read my book this morning and we have this. And then I will go to my massage therapist because I messed up my shoulder when I was drumming. So I like have to get it constantly worked on. But then like I'll do some school and I'll probably just like watch a movie or something. And it's like that is healing all parts of me that need to be healed. And especially my inner kid who never got a chance. Like that 7-year-old was put into an industry and was like, all right, now shut up. We have a job to do. And so now it's like, all right, it feels weird, but my therapist was like, everything that feels weird is honestly going to help you. So like, I was like, all right, what does little Lulu want to do? And it's like, I want to watch, honestly, I want to like take a chill day and just watch a movie today and just chill out. And it's like, all right, that's what we're going to do. Cause I could stream today. I could edit today. I could get content out and be on the grind, but it's like, that's not what feels healthy for me today. I'm going to just relax and hang out. And it's just nice that I have the availability to do that now because I'm in control of my life. So
Yeah.
it's really amazing to see the progress I've made. And it honestly just feels nice to have time back, if that makes sense. Like time was just flying by because I wasn't deciding what I was doing. So to have my time again and to be like, yay, today's Friday, I can just do what I want. But like tomorrow I can do the same thing, and Sunday I can do the same thing. Like, it's so nice.
Yeah. No, I mean, you were saying earlier, just like how I think you said the therapist said you're glowing. And like, I'm seeing that now, even just hearing you talk about this, Lou. Like, it is so clear that you're in a much better spot than where you were, and that you
Mhm.
are just in a place of just like happiness and really feeling like, man, I'm just really fulfilling my purpose right now. And praise
Mhm.
God for that. And man, it's so incredible. I mean, you did such a wonderful job of just kind of outlining everything that you've been through. And there's a few things I kind of want to unpack.
Mhm.
You mentioned growing up, being bullied. I don't know. It almost seems like from the get go, like your identity was almost kind of under attack, as far as being
Mhm.
bullied and just like, oh, girls don't play video games, or girls shouldn't do this, girls didn't do that. Like, how have you been able to overcome that throughout your life? Because I mean, I think that's a big thing even in 2023 in our culture today, right? Like identity. Um,
Mhm.
for you, how did you get to this point where you kind of accepted and realized that, hey, I am who I am. God made me who I am, and you can take it or leave it.
I think honestly, just developing a mindset of I'm going to do in life what I feel like I need to do. And whether whoever you are to me agree that that's what I should do or not, it can't matter. Um, and at first it seemed like such a like rude mindset to have. And I was like,
Sure.
I don't want to be mean to people. Like their opinion does matter though. Like I do care what they think. Um, but I realized that even letting like family members be like, well, I don't think you should do that. Like, that's not what you should do. It was holding me back from what I felt like I knew I needed to do. And so I was like, I'd rather someone be a little bit upset with me that I didn't listen to their opinion, um, and feel like I fulfilled my purpose than let other people tell me how to fulfill my purpose and never feel satisfied. Um, and I've had people left and right, like growing up, hate comments were always a thing. Always got, you're too this, you're too this, you're too small, you're too big, you talk too much, you don't talk enough, like all of this stuff. And so it really does attack your identity because you're like, who am I then? What do people want me to be? Like, how do I have the balance of everything? And I finally just through everything learned to just apologetically be myself. And I realized I think especially through my community, just everyone being like, you literally like you being you is the best thing ever. They were like, I don't know what it is about you, but you're just like the perfect mix of just like funny, but also serious and like you are relatable, but you're also like just they're like you just have a blend of everything. And I'm like, it's because I'm finally being myself. Like I'm not sitting here in my head being like, okay, I've talked 80% of the time, so I need to dial it back so that it's 50-50. Like even here, like for a second, I was like, I feel like I'm talking a lot, but like it doesn't matter, you know?
Yeah, there's
Like
no rules here.
at the end of the day, if somebody doesn't want you to be you, then they can leave your life. Like that is kind of how I have that mindset. And again, at first, it was so hard because I was like, that's my family members I'm telling that to, or like, that's my best friend. Like, their opinion has to matter. And just talking to my therapist and stuff, she was like, says who? The only opinion that has to matter is God. Like, their opinion could be flawed. Why would you listen to it? Like, it's their opinion. Um, and so it's like having that attitude towards life has helped me so much because it's helped me from saying no, like I don't want to go hang out. Instead of being like, yeah, like I'll come hang out and then just burning myself out because I'm outside when I needed to take a break and rest. Um, to being like, hey, like we haven't hung out in a bit. Like I would like to go out with you instead of waiting for them to reach out, you know? Like even having that, it's helped my friendships because I'm not sitting here like, do they like me? Do they not like me? I'm upfront about it now because it's like that's who I am. I'm like, all right, do we have an issue? Because like you haven't talked to me for a couple of days. Like, did I say something?
Yep.
But
Yep.
it's just I stopped trying to pretend to be who everyone wanted me to be, and I just started being who I wanted to be. And it's confusing for those closest to me because they're like, sometimes you're really sensitive and emotional, and other times you're like this, like, I'm not affected by anything person. I was like, that's who I am. Sorry.
Yep.
Like, and it's fun. It's fun for me. I get to literally just let my inner kid shine and do what she wants to do. And it's how I like have people come in. They're like, you just have this like vibe that I want to be around. It's like, talk to my inner kid because I'm just letting her say things. And sometimes it's really stupid and I regret it. And I'm like, ooh, I probably shouldn't have said that. I'm live right now. That could be taken the wrong way. But it's like, I don't care anymore. I'm not under the harshness of like everything you say has to be correct politically, spiritually. Everything has to be 100% correct because if you say one thing, it could hurt the band. I literally like said something about God. I was like, you're perfect the way you are and he loves you. And the next day we had to make an apology and say like, Lulu didn't mean that you are perfect. We understand that we are sinful human. And I was like, what?
Wow.
I was like, of course I didn't mean we were perfect, but God does, like, you are perfect the way you are. I'm saying you don't have to change and become this like person, but then other people were mad. They're like, you do have to change and become like a different. I'm like, can I not speak? Can I not just say anything? I was like, so I'm gonna just shut up then. If everything I'm gonna say is be taken a different way. So now that I have my own community, my place, what I say is only affecting me. I can say whatever I want because now it's like, all right, if I say something stupid, it only affects me. But now it's like I have a community of people who don't twist things and they don't make it seem like I said something else. And it's like, I haven't had to apologize for something because I'm not under the like, you have to be perfect and everything you say has to please everybody. I probably am not pleasing everybody. And those people don't come and hang out because it's like, okay, that's life. If you don't agree with something that someone said or you don't want to be there, you don't have to stay. And because I don't put up with the people being like, oh, well, technically, like what you said could have been taken this way. It's like, technically nothing. I said what I said, and that's what I meant at the end of the day. If I'm a hateful person, yeah, tell me to apologize. But like, that's not who I am. So I don't worry about, oh, well, if I say something, it'll be taken hateful because that's not who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love it. I love the word you said. You are unapologetically yourself now, Lou.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, obviously I haven't like met you and I don't like know you, but just listening to your content and watching some of your streams, like you said, like there is something about you there. God has put something in you where people are drawn to it. And I think a lot of that is because you are just yourself. I mean, I love just, you know, whether it's a post on Instagram or you're opening up a podcast with like, hey, what's up, butt cheeks? You know, I love it. I love it. You're just you. And I'm so glad that you're at this point where you can just embrace just being who God made you to be. I mean, I tell people all the time, like, there's only one of each of us, right? Like, even if you're a twin, you're still a unique person. Like, and once you're like dead, and I don't mean to be morbid with that, but like once you're dead, like that's it. We're not getting that back. Like, we need to just focus on being who we are because we only get one shot at showing the world like God's glory through us. We don't need to mimic, the celebrity or somebody else. There's plenty of people already doing that. Like, let's just be
and you're not going to be able to do it either. Like, as much as you try to mimic someone, your flesh is going to try to be you. It's going to be like, this is not who I am. Like, come on. Like, when I painted my wall green, I knew I didn't want it green. My flesh was like, no, this is an awful color. It literally looks like vomit. Absolutely not. But I still did it. And like, so you can try to mimic other people. You can try to fit in. But what I tell my community, it's like, I would rather be weird and like an outcast than fit in with everyone else. Because when you fit in with everyone else, you're just viewed as that. You're just viewed as the society, just the population. But when you're weird and you're different and you say things and you are yourself, you're viewed as you. You are seen as a singular person. And that's who I want to be. I no longer want to fit in. I no longer want to be like what people want me to be. And it's because I was that. And I was miserable. I was literally like counting calories and not sleeping and doing my makeup 24/7. My skin was awful. Like, now I literally, like, I go on stream after just waking up. Like, my hair will be sticking everywhere. I will literally be in my pajamas and I will literally be like, guys, I know like I look like I just woke up. I did deal with it. Like,
yep.
And because there's people watching me in their pajamas, it's like they feel comfortable because they're like, I look the same way. That's sick. Like, I'm not over here with makeup and my hair completely done and a dress on. Like, sometimes I do because that's what I want to do that day. Like, if I want to wear makeup and dress up and look cool, I'm going to do that. But at the same time, if I'm not going to put makeup on and I just want to wear like a normal day-to-day outfit and stream, I'm going to do that too because that's who I am. And I think that's why people feel so comfortable because I'm not this like higher up person that's viewed. I'm just a normal person doing my thing and everyone's there to enjoy it. And I love it. I love it so much. Like, Old me would have put on makeup for this podcast at 10 a.m. Who at 10 a.m. wants to put makeup on? Not me. I don't. And so I literally was like, I have bags under my eyes. I genetically have bags, but like for 11 years not sleeping, you're going to have bags under your eyes. My hair is a little whack, and I'm getting ready to go to my massage therapist. So like, obviously I don't want to have to put makeup on and then take it off and go. So I'm just going to be me. And it's like, no one's sitting here going, oh my word, she didn't put makeup on. Oh my word, she has a oversized shirt on. Oh my, like, no one cares. No. Absolutely no one cares. If all they care about is the way you look, then you did something wrong. And that's where I was. I was like, people don't even know me. All they know is that I look cool. Like, I don't want that. Do I really want to go out with people and be like, hey, well, like, she had good style? No, I want people to be like, wow, she really, like, she was the love of God. And like, she really showed that to people. And so, yeah, you can try to mimic, you can try to be other people, or if people in your life are like, oh, well, you used to be funnier when you did this, or you used to be cooler when you did this. And it's like, okay, cool. Go find someone who's like that then, because this is who I am now. And if you don't want that, deal with it. And it's like, me and my friends, we literally probably change personalities daily. Like, and that's what's fun. It makes it fun because it's like, you don't know what you're going to get. You might get sleepy me who talks barely. You might get energetic me who's constantly screaming. It's like, you don't know. And that's what's fun about life, is that it's just like, just being yourself, and you're just being that child of God that God wants us to be. No matter your age, he wants us to be childlike. So it's like, nah, we're not serious. We're not business-like. Like, I've literally done sponsors and I'm still the same me. And they love it. They're like, yeah, we want that you. We don't want you to be preppy and proper and all that. They want me to be myself, because it's like, people want that. They want true, authentic people.
Amen. Amen. Man, someone out there listening to this needed to hear that. So thank you for I mean, that was a word right there that you gave. I love that, Lou. And I'm curious. I mean, you said you started the band when you were 7 years old. Being in the music industry as a child, like, off the top of my head, I'm thinking of like, okay, childhood drummers. Like, I can think of like Zach Hansen from Hanson. And man, there was one other one that just is missing my mind now. But like, I feel like that's a pretty rare thing, right? And so what was that like for you? Like, spending your childhood in the music industry, let alone the fact that you were being bullied at school and then you're the youngest in your family. Like, there's a lot of dynamics there. So like, what was that like for you to kind of deal with that beast that is known as the music industry?
It definitely, like, not to pull like the woman card, but like, it really sucked seeing how people reacted in such a way to young females. Like, I'm 7 to 17 years old. The oldest I ever was 18 on stage with Fozzy. So majority of the time, 7 to 17-year-old, a minor, a teenager, a child on stage, fully covered. Like, it's not like I'm up there like egging it on, or like whatever people say. They're like, oh, you were just egging it on, when it's like, I literally was wearing clothes. Okay, whatever. Right. But it's like, I'm in a tutu, like, at 7 years old. I'm in a Minions tutu. Like, really? And the comments that people will physically yell to a stage of children, like, even my oldest sister was still a minor.
Yeah.
And it's these like most vulgar, like, gruesome comments. And then let alone the message you get online of like, I'm going to come to your house and like sexually assault you. It's like, or I'm going to find you and kill you and then sexually assault you. And it's like, what is wrong with you people? Like, what in the actual world went through your brain when you sent that? Especially to a minor. Like, it doesn't make it any different whether it's to a minor or to an adult. Like, it's still a very gruesome comment. But it's like, we are children. Like, we are, and some of them would have kids. It's like, you go to their profile and they're like, father of 2, and it's like, oh my god, what is wrong with you? And so just getting those comments is really good, as well as like music videos. I remember specifically, I think I was 15 and we shot a music video, and the guy was like, all right, look sexy for me. Like, come on, give me. And I was like, my sisters bowed up immediately. They were like, no, she is 15 years old. Like, you are 40. You are not saying that to her. And that's not who we are. We don't sell that. We are here to make music. That's it. And so just getting those comments towards you, it kind of like made me not like men. It was like, I don't want to be with someone. Like, I don't like those words. Like even the words of like, oh, you're so like hot, you're so beautiful. It's like, I don't like being called that anymore because it's like so many people and so many freaks have sent me messages. And it's like the amount of things I have read where it's like, I'd love to do this to you. Or it's like, I can't, like, can you start an OnlyFans? And it's like, you are so gross. Like, you don't make these comments towards people. If people decide to do that with their life, that's their choice. You don't get to comment, like, you don't get to ask for that from people. Like, especially when nothing on my page alludes to that. Nothing I do. Like, the most I've done is like dress up in a dress. It's like, no, you don't get to say that to people. So growing up, especially in the metal industry, is like they're very loving and they're very kind, the good people in it. Like if you fall in the mosh pit, they pick you up. Like they all bond together. If someone feels unsafe, they'll literally walk you to your car. Like they are so loving. But at the same time, the bad ones are just so vulgar and just disgusting human beings. And it was nice to have men on the road that I felt protected the whole time. Like I felt safe. But it's also like some of the people we toured with were like constantly hooking up with people and constantly like going on Tinder dates. And it's like, okay, so I do need to be aware. Like I need to keep an eye out for myself if I feel like I could never go alone anywhere on tour because it's like I'm not safe. And it sucks. It sucks to not feel safe by literally being a human. Literally wearing sweats and a baggy t-shirt. You're still not safe. You're still not safe to go out alone. And it's like that sucks, especially at the age of 7 years old, knowing that, like playing these shows and having your parents be like, all right, stick to me, don't go anywhere. Like if you see what anything, or having not being able to accept drinks. Never ever was allowed to accept water. Like if I needed a water at a show, but all they had was like open cups, I didn't have water then because like we couldn't risk it.
Yeah.
And having like people bring you home baked food and being like, can we eat this? Can we not? I literally had to question like, is this person trying to kill me? Like could this food have like stuff in it to kill me? Or we literally at one point had to try to think about how to put bulletproof vests into our cheerleading outfits. Like literally had to think about how to incorporate in case somebody tried to come, because that is an actual worry. It's not like, oh, you're just being over dramatic. Like that stuff happens constantly. It's just not talked about. Like, and so people get very, very freaky and like controlling when they see musicians and they see women. They're like, that is my person. And if anyone else tries to be with them, I'm going to do something about it. And it's like, no, you don't know me.
Yeah.
So it's scary going on stage being like, all right, something could happen. Like I'm somewhat protected behind the drums, but like, what about my sisters on stage? Like, so it's very scary. And just being on social media in total, it's a very just messy lifestyle. And it's why I tell people like, I wouldn't really recommend it. For me, I'm willing to go through it because it helps me do my purpose and what I feel fulfilled by. If I wasn't using it for my job, I would delete every social media app on my phone. I hate them. Except like YouTube. I love YouTube, but like everything else I would delete because it's just so disgusting, and it makes you so disgusted with human beings. And it's not every single one. And you do have to stay positive and remember that like obviously we're seeing the negative because that's what the world wants. It wants the evil to shine through. And so like every time you see one of those positives, you have to really let it sink in. Like this really feels nice, but it's crazy how scary it can be living a life like, all right, be safe today. We're in a certain place, like can't go out of the van, literally can't leave the van until it's time to play. Then someone will walk you into the place and then you'll be walked back out to the van. It's like, that's cool. So I'm living my whole day in the van today. Like that's sick. But there is a lot of like positives to it as well, because music industry is very family. Like everyone's just a big family. And so I have so many people that still like DM me whenever they see an accomplishment, like, good job, little sis. And it's like, thanks. And so many people that if anything ever happened to me, I know I could literally call and instantly they would be here to help me. Like it is really nice to have those bonds made, and they're not going to be broken. Like just because I won't be on the road with them, it's not like it's gone. Like they all would do anything for me. And even like Mr. Chris literally was like, yeah, I'll do the first podcast with you. Like I'd love to. And he was like, let me know what day and I'll be available. And it's just people like that they kind of take like she's my little sis, don't mess with her kind of.
Yep.
And it's nice to have that. It's like, yeah. And of course I loved playing drums. So getting to do that on stage and like in Germany and all that, like it literally feels like a like dream that like I think about. I'm like, man, I used to like play on stage. It's crazy. And I still would love to do it. And I always tell everyone like I still would love to like either fill in with people or do like small tour dates. It's just I can't tour. Like touring is not good for me. And it is why like I told Maggie, I was like, I'm just gonna step down because I will hold you back because I can't tour. And obviously you're not gonna like want to push me to do that. And so then it's just gonna hold you back. And I want you to go pursue what you want. And it was tough. Yeah, it's tough to see that, but it's like I mentally need to do what's best for me. So I still would do like one-off tours and fill-ins and stuff. And so I'm still, and I have like drum covers that I'm working on for people because I know they still love seeing me drum and like I love doing it. And I'm trying to find a setup for stream to where I can stream just practicing drums or like playing drums where it doesn't sound like crap. But still trying to figure that out because it's very difficult. I'm not good like tech wise like that. I don't know how to set all that up. I'm only good with like the stream setup. I can't really do that. But so I'm trying to figure that out. But there is a lot of positive with it. And I think a lot of the friends that I gained from it and like literally being able to grow, like Chris is literally one of my friends. Like he'll respond to my Instagram story, be like, "Oh, that's sick," or like I'll literally comment. I told somebody, I was like, "Yeah, that's my uncle Chris," and now I literally will still get DMs like, "Is he actually your uncle?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, he actually is my uncle." And so it's like just having to have that like relationship with people like that and people who will support you no matter what. And a lot of the sponsors that I had, like SJC and Sabian, all were like, I told them, obviously, I was like, I'm stepping down from the band and I will still continue to play drums and promote you guys. And they were like, yeah, we love, like, we're still, like, yeah, you're still sponsored by us and we're still pushing you on. Like, let's do it as Ludawissy. And I was like, this was me. Like, everyone really does. It's very genuine. The people that are genuine. It's very, there's a lot of fake people, but like when someone's not fake to you, it is nice to not be like, are they being fake? Are they not being fake? You know when they're genuine and they'll literally like put down everything to make sure they can be there to help you. So that's a really like positive note of it because I don't want to just focus on the negative, but it's just always so disgusting. When people find out, they're like, you were like 15 hearing these things? I'm like, yeah. And I still hear them over 18. Like, it doesn't make it any less disgusting. Don't get it wrong.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm just thankful that your whole family has always had that relationship with Christ to just really lean on. And just, I mean, his grace has obviously been a covering over you. Cause again, look at you now. I mean, you're here, you're healthy, you're happy. And I'm kind of curious, Lou, how old were you when that Death of Giants EP came out?
Oh my goodness. I think I was either like 11 or like 10 or something. I just remember I was the shortest in the family then, and I was literally such a munchkin. I have like a little baby face, and now I'm the tallest at 5'10". I think I was like 4 foot then. So I think around 11 or something.
Okay.
I hate that EP.
I was going to ask about that because when I was talking to Maggie, when I even brought it up, she just immediately started cringing. She's just like, "Ooh, that EP." And
yeah.
But I can understand, why you guys may feel that way because that's like your first EP. But on the flip hand, like I gotta imagine 11, 12 years old, you're in like a professional studio recording. You can physically hold a CD and you're on the picture of it. That's got to be pretty cool, right?
It definitely, like, at that age, I think I wonder if I was actually, because I think I was still in school when that happened. So I was somewhere around that age. I remember going to school and having my 6th grade teacher play Darkness, the music video, on the projector screen. I was like, can you play? Because obviously I'm like, this is cool. People will like it. Got bullied for that too, because apparently being a music video isn't good enough. But man. I was like, can you play it on the screen? And I literally can't imagine what was going through her head when she sees this like little girl be like, can you play my music video? And it's just Darkness. And I was like, oh, I can't believe it. I can't believe I did that, dude.
Oh man, that's amazing. I love it. As you look back at your time in GFM, Lou, is there a particular song that kind of resonates with you that has a lot of personal meaning to you?
Definitely the "Where Were You" song. we wrote that song about our friend that we lost to suicide. And I was really, really young when we knew him. Um, but I remember even being young, being like, "Oh, I like this guy. Like, he's really nice." And we could tell something was up with him. But I mean, even like years ago, no one talked about mental health. Like, it was a very like, "Oh, you deal with that? Like, you need to go to the psych ward." Like, no one talked about it. No one openly, like, I could not sit here and openly say I had anxiety, or people would be like, "Send the like police, like she's gonna hurt somebody." Like, so no one talked about it. So we didn't know really what's going on. But I remember even at the young age when we found out, I just was like, man, we could have done something. Like, if he would have let us know, like, we could have done something. But then my mom showed me a Facebook post where when we found out through a Facebook post, we didn't even know. Just someone had posted like, "Hey, like we're gonna have a memorial, um, and send lanterns off for him." Um, and that's how we found out. And I looked at the comments, and everyone was like sending prayers, like, how, like, can't believe he's gone. And I was like, even at that age, I was like, you guys were all his age. Where were any of you helping him? Like, why did none of you reach out? Now that he's gone, you're reaching out? Like, a lot of them were like, man, like, he was such a good guy. Like, I can't believe it. And it's like, okay, but did you ever tell him that? Did you ever meet up with him? And obviously, I don't know if anyone tried to help him or not, but it's like, I can assure you, some of y'all literally had never spoke to him. Like, I spoke more to him, and I was thinking whatever age I was, but I just remember feeling so bad, being like, man, if only I could have done more to like help him. But then realizing like there was people his age that could have done more to help him. And I sat down and I wrote that song just with such like anger in my like heart about the people letting that happen. It was almost like, how could you come now? Like, don't come now and be like, man, I'm so sad he's gone, when you did nothing. You showed him nothing. You showed him no care. You didn't ask how he was. Like, you treated it like it was like a sore subject, because there was things going on in his life that certain people knew about, just wouldn't help him, wouldn't talk to him. And I just remember being so angry and writing that song, being like, what is going on? And we all wrote songs, but we just kind of like took pieces from each song. And obviously, I was the youngest. Like, most of my lyrics were kind of taken and changed a little, which I didn't care. I was young. I was like, yeah, my words probably aren't even spelled right. Like, literally do what you want. But I remember our producer looking through my notebook, and he saw that song, and he was like reading through it. He was like, I want to use this whole song. He's like, this is good. This whole song is good. And everyone else wrote through it, and they're like, Lou, are you okay? Like, what's going on, Lou? And I just remember being like, yeah, like I would really love to write it for him, and just kind of in remembrance of him, as well as a reminder to me too. Like, now that I'm older, like I blamed myself a little back then, but like now I don't. I was so young. Like, I don't blame myself at all for the situation.
Good.
But it's just a reminder now that it's like, if I am old enough now that if I see someone going through something and I don't say anything, shame on me if I put out like, oh, like prayers and condolences to the family. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, no, if I had the chance to step up and say something and I just didn't, because I didn't want to like assume, or I didn't want to overstep. No, I'm going to overstep. If you hate me, but you're still on this earth, thank goodness. Like, I would rather you hate me and still be here than me be like, oh, well, he still liked me and then be gone. Like, it's just a reminder to me now, but also back like then, it was just like if someone is going through something, it doesn't matter who they are to you. If they're a boss, if they're a friend, if they're an ex, like, it doesn't matter what. At the end of the day, we're humans, and our job as humans is to be there for each other. Like, we are already divided enough. Do not divide yourself even more by being like, oh, well, if I say something, like, they might not like me. And it's like, it doesn't matter then. At that point, it does not matter. So that song will always stay with me and resonate with me, because it's like, it was the first time I felt so much anger about that subject, even at that age. I was just so upset that no one had done anything. And it was like, well, I didn't know that I was going to have to be the one to do something. I don't even know, like, I didn't understand what he was dealing with. I didn't understand like how he was gone. I just knew he was. And I was so frustrated. So that song will always stick with me. And playing it live for the first time was a very emotional thing for all of us, because obviously we had all gone through the same feelings and emotions. So playing it live for the first time, like I could feel all of us just like getting our aggression out through that song. And it was such a powerful moment. And everyone in the crowd like deemed it as a song where out of respect, no one moshed. They all just sat there and would like listen out of respect for him. And it was just such a amazing thing to do and a very powerful thing for us. And I think it was like necessary for us. I think it was necessary for us to write that and get that out there and let people know like you got to reach out. Like we got to stop with this whole like, well, they didn't say anything. And it's like, if you know they're going through something, speak up. Like if they push you away and they're like, no, I'm good. Then you've done your part. Like if you've tried and they keep saying like, no, I'm good. But if you don't say anything, it's like maybe you were the person that they needed, you know?
Yep. Yeah. Check on your people. You never know what people are going through. And kind of like what you mentioned too, Lou, with the anorexia. And man, hearing you talk about it, and I mean, I can just be on the same wavelength there because I also went through anorexia myself, middle school, high school, college. And man, treatment looks different for everybody. What has worked for you to kind of overcome it and maintain that? And like you said, I mean, there's always a part of it there, and I totally get that because there's still parts where like I got to check myself, like, well, should I weigh myself today or should I not, and all that stuff. What has worked for you, and how have you find that balance between that, but then also allowing yourself to work out and to be healthy and kind of like you say, just building your body into that unit?
I think it's definitely letting people know, because you can say, I would tell myself, I'm like, oh, well, I will make sure I do it right. And it's like, you are not in the mindset to be the one telling yourself if it's right. Like even now, there are a few people in my life that like they are allowed to make comments to me that other people I have asked not to, because it's like your comments aren't gonna help. Or like you're gonna just say something because like I don't look like the way I used to. Like you don't like that. But there's certain people in my life that I've like given like, hey, you let me know if you see something I need to like stop or hold back or change or do different. And they have. And even in my head, I'll be like, oh, like I thought I was like fine. Like I thought I was doing that. But like maybe it's a stressful day. And they're like, okay, like have you eaten today? And I'm like, oh yeah, like, and they're like, okay, what'd you eat? And it's like, oh, this and like, you should grab a snack. And it's like, oh, I thought I had enough, but like, okay, I will. Just because like for me, when I get super stressed out or super focused, I'll like just forget everything. Especially with the medication I'm on for my ADHD. It just kind of like stops my what's it called? When you're hungry. Like I just don't really have that ever. Yeah. So it's hard sometimes for me. So I have friends that'll reach out, just be like, hey, did you eat today? And it's like, yes, I did. Thank you for reminding me. Cause like now it's not even like, I hate that I don't have that. It's like, I want to be hungry. Like I want to eat. I just don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
But to get through it, it was a lot of like, don't weigh yourself. Like don't look in mirrors. The body checking was such a huge thing. And even on the road, still finding ways to body check was like, it was such a pain, you know? It was like, there's not a lot of mirrors in a tour bus. It's like, but I'll find a way. Like, so it was like, don't do that. Don't, like calorie, like looking at calories. It's like, it doesn't matter to me. Even when things will ping, I feel like now it's more of a ping sometimes. Like it's not a constant, like I'm not thinking, okay, like this. Now I'm just like, oh, am I hungry? Like, yeah, I'll go eat. But now sometimes it'll ping. It'll be like, ooh, like this has a lot of carbs and I'm not going to lift today. So like technically, like food wise, I don't need as many carbs. I'll be like, okay, if this didn't have any carbs, any of that, would I want it? Yeah. All right. I'm eating it, you know, like, because I do lift, I do work out, and I do have goals strength wise now where it's like, it's no longer a physique thing. It is just like, I want to be strong enough to do this. So I do have to have certain like nutrition goals and certain like, all right, need to get this much in. And so it's like, all right, I need more carbs. So I didn't count calories for the longest time after what I went through. And I still don't. I don't like daily count anything. But sometimes I will do like, I don't even know what to call it. But I'll just take a day to make sure I'm hitting what I need, because oftentimes right now it's like, all right, I'm not hitting what I need to hit, even though I thought I was. So let's just make sure to up it a little. Just make sure I get some more carbs or make sure I get some more protein. But I don't really, or like I'll have a friend, I'll send them pictures and be like, can you just count, like make sure I'm hitting my like goals to make sure I can continue to get strength and continue to grow. And it is difficult sometimes, very frustrating. It's like, I can't believe I literally did this to myself where I can't even just count and make sure I'm like doing this. It's so annoying. It's like, dude, but I am that careful. You have to be very cautious because I don't want to trigger myself back into that mindset. And I hated that word for so long. I hated the word trigger because I was like, just the way it's been used, I was like, it's so overused. It's
Yep.
so like, I don't want to be seen as that person. I don't want to be seen as a person people are like, oh, you're going to trigger her. Like, but having people who are very like serious about it, but also just relatable speaking to me, being like, it is a thing. Like, you do have to understand. You don't have to view it as this way. You don't have to even say the word, but you can be triggered into thinking that way again. Your body will just take over, kind of like it's not your fault, but your body's going to do it. So just be a little overly cautious, but not afraid. I would say that that is a big thing because I deal with having like a spirit of fear around me. And multiple times I've talked with my therapist and even recently a church. I used to listen to a church online for the longest time. And then my family invited me to go to this new church. And I was like, no, like I'm going to listen to this church online. I just didn't want to go in. I didn't like going out. But I then started to deal with my religious OCD because I started taking things as signs. I was like, that's a sign. There's a sign God's doing this. A sign God's doing like, and I started working myself up and I still deal with it sometimes. I'm like, oh my word, but what if that wasn't a coincidence? What if that was God trying to tell me this? And again, that's where my therapist can be like, your perspective is going to change it to make it like a sign. She's like, you deal with anxiety. It's going to make it seem like it was a sign. God's not trying to speak to you through this. She was like, but again, that's where I switched to going to this new church because I was like, I got to take a break from this church because every time I'm like anxious to go to church. I'm like sitting here like going to throw up. Like, oh my goodness, what is it going to be about? What if it's about this thing again? And what if it is God? And obviously that was Satan trying to just get me out of everything, you know? Like if
Right.
I'm anxious going to church, what's the fix? Get out of church, you know? So I was like, okay, I'll just try this new church. And I was anxious going there. I was like, oh, what if it's about this? What if it's about the thing I've been worrying about? And since I started going to that church, every single lesson has been about the spirit of fear and how Satan comes to make you miserable. And that is what my therapist had continually told me. She's like, you need to write this verse down. It's all over my room. It's on my phone. Like, you need to write it down. And remember, whenever you start to feel this way, Satan is trying to make you miserable. And it's a genuine spirit of fear that is trying to attack you. And from there, the church started talking about it. And I didn't feel like it was a sign. I didn't feel like I was like, it's just God is trying to communicate to me that Satan is trying to make me miserable. Like, this doesn't make me feel anxious that this is from God. This doesn't make me feel like, oh, I can't go to church. Like, I was like, okay, God's just trying to be like, hey, relax. Like, you're good. Satan's trying to come after you. And now it's almost like like I tell my friends, I'm like, I'm flattered. I'm flattered that Satan's literally sending a whole spirit after me. Like,
Amen.
and I'm still over here, like, able to do what we're doing. Like, even just sharing my gospel here, it's like, all right, like, you can try, but Satan, you've seen what I've made it through. You really think the spirit of fear is going to stop it? Like,
Amen.
if I've made it through that already, I ain't stopping now. So I just kind of tell my friends, I'm like, I'm flattered, Satan. Really, I am. But it obviously means that my purpose goes so much larger, and Satan can tell that. Like, he can be like, oh crap, like, we got to stop this as much as we can. But yeah, I would say just don't have a fear over it. Don't be like, oh, like, if I look at this, I'm gonna go back and like, just be cautious. You know. And it's like, it's kind of like when you're driving and there's a biker on the side. You're not like, oh, I'm gonna hit him, but you're just like, all right, let me just move a little just to make sure that he's good. So it's just the same way. Just move through your life a little, adjusted so that you're good, and don't feel like you're impeding on others' lives if you have to be like, hey, can you not mention this one around? There's been multiple times. Literally, my friends, obviously we bond over the gym. They all count their macros. They're all dudes. Like, they're literally all trying to get buff. Like, they literally all count their macros. And for so long, I was like, I don't want to be that person and be like, hey, can you not talk about that? But I was like, I know as well, if I hear it enough, it might be like, oh, well, I need to do that too. So I just let them know. I was like, hey, can you just like maybe not bring this up? And they were like, yeah, for sure. And so it's just even things like that, and just moving your way through life, not focusing on the numbers and on the way you look, and truly getting to the root of it. Because for me, I could eat and I could not work out, and I'll still deal with it, It's not the actions is what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with a root issue, and that root issue was control. That root
Yep.
issue was not being able to have a sense of peace in anything but that. And it's almost like you are self-harming in a specific way because you're like, okay, well, like I'll punish myself then for not doing this. And it's like you have to get to that root issue, figure that root issue out, and then you can go on, because everyone can eat, everyone can not work out and feel fine. But if you have a root issue, you're not going to be able to do that. So I still deal with it sometimes where like now it's more so just like, oh, well, I need to take a rest day, but I want to go outside. I want to go work out. I want to go do this because it makes me feel mentally clear. But it's kind of forcing yourself to be like, all right, even though I want to, like your body does need rest. So let's just take today. If I want to go outside, I can go lay out outside, like go lay in the sun or go play with the dogs. But it's like, we're not going to go hard today outside. And it took a while to get used to that as well, because being on the road, there is no off days. Like, like you're working out and you're playing a show. And so I'm so used to physically just working my body. But again, noticing when you need rest and making it important, having people that you can count on to keep you accountable and be honest with you and not be like, oh yeah, you're fine. Like you look great. Like you don't need those people. You don't need those people to talk to you. You need the people that are going to be blunt and be like, no, like I think you should eat more, or no, I don't think you should work out today. And even my friends will help me with work wise too. Like they do the same thing. They're like, no, I don't think you should work today. And it'll cause like not arguments, but just me be like, why? Like, why do you not think I should work? Like, what in the world? And but after some time, I'm like, okay, I see what you're saying, and I won't work today. But just having the root issue fixed for me helped way more than any like plan or like eating like certain foods or whatever it did, because all that, it didn't matter to me. I was like, okay, like, so what? I gained weight. Like, I still want to control it. Like,
Yep.
what? So, and finding joy in lifting too, really helped me, because now whenever I get upset, I don't go to control. I go to, I'm just going to go like slam weights around.
I love it. I love it. And I love what you said earlier, Lou, about I'm almost kind of flattered that the enemy is targeting me, because that means that he sees you as a threat. And man, I feel like as believers, like we should be living in such a way that we are a threat to the enemy, because if we're not, what are we even doing? Right.
Yeah.
And so I loved how you said that. And I'm so thankful that it sounds like you have an amazing support system around you with your friends that, like you said, can just be blunt with you, can call you out in love, and to help push you on in your purpose. And right now, tying this all together, that purpose right now is Ludawissy, and just the whole brand that you're creating here. And man, I'm a huge fan of what you're doing, Lou. I'm curious, where did that name come from, Ludawissy?
So I wanted a username when I first got my PC for my games and everything. I was logging in all my accounts, and I was like, a fresh start. I had never had my own account. It had always been a shared account with my family. So I was like, okay, what do I want? What do I want? And I came up with like wasabi, but like with a Z. And I was like, that'd be sick. And then it like was taken, and I was like, bummer. I was like, okay, what else? What else? And so I was sitting there, I was like, I don't know what to do. And I literally even went onto Reddit and I like put out a post. I was like, I need a cool name with the name Lulu. And like, I list the things I like, and all this stuff was so stupid. I was like, what in the world is this? I was like, this is so dumb. And I finally thought of I was like, I'll just have a filler name for now. And me and my sisters and my cousins, we would film all the time. We filmed like fake reality TV show hosts, and there are 2 guys and we're 3 girls, and we literally got them to dress up in like wedding dresses and all of this. It's very strange, very country and strange, but we film all these like reality TV shows and stuff. And so we came up with a new show. It was our noodling show. And so we all put on very Southern accents, and we go jump in lakes, and we go like catfish noodling. And so we'll just like joke around with it. And so my country name was Ludawissy. And so I would go around screaming like, ski, my name Ludawissy, and I like run around. And so I was like, I'll just use that name for now, like just for a filler. And so I put it in, and I actually changed my Twitch username to something else. And then I had decided, I was like, you know what? What if I just use Ludawissy? Like, what if I just go with it? Because then I can always remember like the fun times I have with them. I was like, and it's funny. Like, it's like some random Southern funny sounding name. And so I had to wait 30 days to change on Twitch. And I was like praying. I was like, please no one pick Ludawissy. Please no one pick Ludawissy. Because if someone takes it, like you can't have it anymore.
Yeah.
And of course, no one took it because literally who wants Ludawissy? But so I finally got the name back. And then I decided, I was like, all right, everything will be Ludawissy. And I didn't even think about being called Luda until I played with his name's El Tater, and he is another streamer that I met. And he called me Luda. And I was like, oh my word, I have like a stream name. Like, and I've always thought that was so cool because all the people I watched growing up, like Pokimane was called Pokey. Like, that's not even her real name. And like Valkyrie was like called Valky and stuff like that. So I was like, oh my word, I have a stream name. And like now people come in and they're like, hey, Luda. And I was like, this is so cool. And like, it's so cute because it's my real name's Lulu. So it's not like completely different from my real name, but it's just enough to be like, that's like my online personality. And I always tell people, like, you know, Luda, and she's not much different from Lulu. Like, you know her and her stories and everything, but there is a part of Lulu that you will never get to have. And it's just that part to make sure I am still me and I still have a personal life that doesn't feel like is being like have other people's opinions on and everything. It's just mine. And it also just helps with that, you know, like it helps to have people calling me by Luda, because then Lulu never has to be like that person for people. And people still call me Lulu because they know me from GFM. Like, and I love it. I don't care like what people call me. But
As long
it's
as
just
it's not
so
Evie,
fun.
right?
Yeah, honestly, I've had people in real life call me Evie, and I'm like, are you the cops? What did I do? What did I do? I'm sorry. But so yeah, like having people call me Luda it's just, I don't know how to explain it. It's just like the little kid in me jumps every time she hears Luda. She's like, oh my word, we have a superhero name.
Yeah. I
So-
see it as a sign that you've made it, Lulu.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's-
obviously you're still wanting to grow and establish this and do this full time and, you know,
Mhm.
full-time income with it. But like, to me, that's like a mark that you're already doing it, Lou. Like you're making it. Like, and man, I mean, the last couple episodes of your podcast, which I'm a huge fan of right away, I fell behind, so I was binging to catch up this week. Spoke directly to me. I mean, I messaged you. They kicked my butt. Like they were exactly what I needed to hear. And you talk about how, man, look what God is doing. Like you got an editor now. Like you started your Patreon. You got your merch line. Like things are just keep falling into place with you. What is that like? You know, again, you talked about this has been your dream since 4 years old. Like I want to do this. It's happening now. Like it is coming to fruition before your very hands. What's that like to just kind of reflect on that?
It's definitely a lot of days of just sitting here being like, oh my word, why? Oh my word, why? Oh my word. Like I literally, when I first released my Patreon, I was on the phone. I have like 2 to 3 like best friends that I'll always be on the phone with. They're all guys and they're all emotional. So I love them because they understand. Like they are more emotional than me and I love it so much. So I was on the phone with one of them and I was like, I literally just started sobbing and I was like, I don't know what's wrong. And they were like, you feel appreciated. I was like, no, I don't think that's it. I don't know what's wrong. Why am I crying? I was like, I don't know what's wrong. I was like, what's happening? And they were like, you feel like like you are getting to do your dream. Like you feel loved. And I was like, why? I don't deserve this. No, what's happening? I don't deserve this. And they're like, what do you mean? Like these people like feel relatable to you and they love you as you. Like you're genuine, you're authentic, and they love that. They want to support you. And I'm like, can I refund them their money? And they're like, no. They're like, what are you doing? They're like, you want to make this a job, like you have to have an income. And I was like, why are they doing this? It's a lot of like confusion because again, my brain is very split in many different ways, and so part of me understands and has like a logical side and can communicate and has emotions and like all of that, and then there's a part of me that's like, it just doesn't understand anything, and it's just like complete, it's like that's all I hear in that part of my brain. And so it's like when it all happened, that kind of just took over and I was like, what is happening? Obviously the logical side of me was like, oh my word, we're going to be able to pay for an editor and we can do it. Like it'll take a lot off of our plate. She's very mature and sophisticated and can think straight. And that part of me was just like, sound the alarm, something's happening. I did something. I don't know what I did. But it's just, it's a lot of days of me just thanking God and just kind of crying happy tears and being like very appreciative that I can do something that's healthy for me and I don't feel like awful. Like even I worked that job for like a week, like that part-time job where I had to get up at 7 a.m. and I just was like dreading going to bed because I knew I had to wake up. And I was like, this is an awful feeling. I was like, I don't ever feel like this with my work. I work, like I feel like I'm working sometimes when I stream or when I have to do emails or write out like video ideas or film or edit. I was like, I never feel like this. I never dread anything. So I quit that job. I was like, I'm not going back to that place of life. So it's the only piece of like work for me that my creative brain really thrives in. And it's like everything gets to light up and do its job and it's all very satisfied. And so it's just absolutely wild to me. And the only answer is God. That when people are like,
Amen.
how did you do it? Like, how is it happening? It's like, yes, I study the algorithm and I take courses to like learn more about posting or well, like do art and like work. Obviously, like I am working a part of it and I give myself that recognition because like I do deserve it. I deserve that recognition. And I give myself that. But also like I should not have, first of all, been able to live through what I did. Like I lived through a lot, and I
Yeah.
used to not even say that because I was like, oh, I just no, it was normal. But finally, even being able to admit that like I went through a lot of crap is a lot for me because I used to not let myself admit that at all. And so that's God, as well as the people that are in my life right now, and the fact that they stayed in my life through what I went through. Like they know exactly what they had to go through. And God gave them the strength because I tell them all the time, I was like, there's no way you were able to sit through that. God definitely gave you the strength because I was like, I couldn't do that alone. Like, so the people in my life right now are sent by God 100%. Like, there's no coincidence. And the way I met them, it's like, there's no way. There's no way this is just a coincidence. As well as just like the community that He's blessed me with. And they literally, like, I will sit with them in our Discord and talk to them because, again, parasocial, like, I don't want to make any like weird bonds because obviously like I don't know them, they don't know me, but I have met a lot of them from GFM. Like I have met them in person. So it's like I do feel like they're my friends. Like I do feel like I get to actually know them and they know some about me. And I was just messaging them. I was like, guys, like I said I was gonna stream today and I'm gonna be honest, I had like a really rough night anxiety wise and I was up really late. And so I just don't think it would be best for me to stream. And I'm really sorry. Like I was apologizing. I'm like, I'm sorry. I know like I had planned to stream today, and literally, I got so many messages from them. They're like, we want you to be okay. Like, the more you rest, the more you get to stream later. Like, if you stream today, but don't get to stream for a week because you're burnt out, like, they were all telling me, like, don't apologize. Like, you are good. Like, literally, we can entertain ourselves for a day. Like, take your rest and, like, having a community that understands and knows. And that is such, like, I literally pray for them every day and I thank God for them. And I just genuinely don't, like, it all feels surreal. And I will literally I tell my chat, I was like, sometimes I get in bed at night and I get too excited, like my brain gets so excited that it's like, wait, I need to go to sleep, stop. But I literally think about just like how everything is steadily progressing to the next step when I am ready, and it's not like anything's coming when I'm not ready, and how there's no way that's not God. Like
Yeah.
I am ready every time something comes and I have the right people in my life every time I need it to be. And how like obviously God knows what I want to do in life and what I'm able to do in the situation I am. And I was like, this is actually like I could become like full-time content. And I'll literally just sit there and get so excited of just like seeing a life of like in my apartment, like just yelling at my chat or like hanging out and cooking on stream, or even like we've talked about meetups way, way in the future, obviously not right now, but like I was like, honestly, for meetups, it would be so fun to have like a rave party, like because we're all awkward. Like whenever we get in person, I'm like, I'm not gonna just sit there and have y'all stare at me and me stare at y'all. Like we're all awkward. So I was like, we could just have like a dance party, like just put music on and just hang out. And I was like, and then we get to like meet each other, but we don't have to rely on words. And so it's like even just thinking about like that and just all of the people that supported me when I had nothing, when it was just merely a thought, like I maybe had a logo, just being able to like financially care for them and help them and support them. It's like, it gets me so excited. I'm like, I literally, every time I think about it, I'm just like, thank you, God, so much. Like if it stopped today, I feel like I got so much more than I like ever thought I would. And that he like provided so much more than I ever thought I could have. And so I'm so just grateful. And I always tell them, I'm like, I'm bad at emotions, so I'm bad at wording my emotions, but thank you. Like there's a lot more than thank you in my brain, but I can't like explain that. So it's just nice, you know, that little kid that just wanted to be a part of something, wanted people to choose her and wanted people to want to hang out with her and wanted to entertain and make people smile, now has people who the second I go live are sitting there in chat like, hi, like I had such a, or like they'll share news with me. People will come in and be like, I quit my job because it was making me feel miserable because you encouraged me. And I just got a new job that is paying less, but I'm excited because I'm excited about the job. It's like they cared to come tell me that, as well as I got to encourage them to do that. Like it's just so incredible. And I feel so incredibly lucky to have this part of life. And it's a new chapter for sure. And my therapist kept telling me, like, you have so many chapters of life and you just have to be glad that you got to read through one, but be ready for the one that's to come. And it just, at first, it was obviously sad with the change of everything. And I was like, man, we're all growing up. Like, I don't like this. But I was like, there's so many things that are like just coming to light and I'm getting to do. And it's the fact that I'm not having to be mentally burnt while doing it. And I say it all the time. And some people are like, what do you mean? Like, why would you do that in the first place? And it's like, because I was a kid. I didn't know that I was doing that to myself. But I never thought I could do this without feeling that way, if that makes sense. I never thought I could have this life that I wanted without being mentally just exhausted or working 24/7. And it's like, again, I'm going to have a very chill day today. I'm going to take it easy and literally just got to get my college work done. But it's like, I still have the community I have. Like, I still have those people and I still get to hang out with them tomorrow if I choose. And it's what I just got a video from my editor that he finished. And it's like, I literally did what I wanted today and I feel mentally amazing and I'm still doing what I want to do in life. And it's crazy. And I don't believe it sometimes. I literally wake up and I'm like, did I dream everything? What if I like all of it's fake and I'm still like a touring drummer? But it's crazy. It's absolutely insane. And even like I've gotten recognized in games sometimes. They're like, oh my word, are you Ludawissy? I watch you. And I'm like, oh my word.
That's
And I'm
awesome.
like, don't say anything stupid, Lou. Don't get mad at them. If they do something stupid, don't call them out. But it's like, oh my goodness. Like, I grew up watching people do this. I grew up watching people get recognized or recognizing people in game. And now I'm just like, you what? I'm always surprised. I'm like, why? Why do you watch me? Why me? Why am I the one you chose? I'm so sorry, but it's incredible. I love it. I'm so just thankful that this is where God's brought me. And I'm excited to see where it goes. But again, like just focusing on the present has really helped me. So there's no more like, well, in like 2 years, I can't wait to be here. And I'm planning to be here. It's like 2 years, I'll be wherever God wants me to be in 2 years.
Yep. Amen. Amen. And man, God is using you in mighty ways right now, Lou. I mean, and I can say that because he's already been using you in your podcast to just speak to me. I mean, seeing you chase after the Ludawissy brand and wanting to become streamer full time. I mean, that's reinvigorated my passion to want to do this podcast full time. And so thank you for just sharing your journey and taking us all along for the ride. And like I said, God is using you in so many ways. Like, I just really feel like you are a voice for the voiceless and you bring people to that place of safety and comfort that they don't have anywhere else, but they know that they can come to a stream with you, that they can open up and be themselves. And man, it's, I don't know, like it just leaves me speechless. Like I said, I don't even like know you, but like when I see you make a post about like, oh, I'm doing this, or I hit this milestone or this accomplishment, like I'm overjoyed for you because it is just so cool to see your dreams come to fruition and become a reality. And obviously I'm going to continue to follow you along for the ride because I know God's got a whole lot more in store for you. And and I don't say that in a way like you just said to just like, oh, let's focus on what's going to happen in 2 years. No, like 2 years will come when 2 years come. But like, man, like even just hearing you speak, like listen to your podcast, like I would not be surprised if like down the road you get invited to do like speaking engagements, because you got a gift, Lulu. You really got a gift there.
That is crazy. That literally is what my therapist, she was like, I can see you talking in front of people.
Yep.
And like I literally in front of people, like online I can do it. Online I'm fine. I'm like whatever. If that many people were in front of me, my heart would be like pounding. I'd be like shaky. I was like, there's no way. She was like, God uses the people that don't think they can so that he gets the glory. I was like, you take that back. You take that back right now. Take that back.
Yeah. No, well, I agree with that therapist. I mean, the Lord just kind of spoke to me throughout this week as I was listening to your podcast. Is I truly believe at some point, like people are going to request you to come, like, hey, I need you to come speak at this event or speak to the youth, like, because God's got a gift in you, Lou. He's put a lot of different gifts in you, and it's just so cool to see how he's using you. And this has been just amazing, Lou. Thank you for being so gracious with your time. Goodness, 2 hours, and to me, it just feels like it flew by because the Holy Spirit's just been leading this. But Lou, how can people follow you? How can they see what you're doing with Ludawissy?
Yeah, everything is just at Ludawissy, and all my Instagram and like Twitch and TikTok and all that. And then if you go to any of that in the link, there'll be like a little link tree that has like my merch or my Patreon. And I always tell people like I understand that some people don't have the finances to support in that way, and I know even me, like I've felt sometimes when people ask for it, I'm like, oh, I don't have the money right now, like, and I feel like I can't support them. Um, but even just showing up to a stream or sharing a stream or like retweeting a video or liking a post, it doesn't seem big in anyone's eyes. It doesn't seem as big as like a sub or being a part of Patreon, but it truly does like it pushes it. It's in the algorithm. It's like if you're putting a token into the algorithm for me, basically, like it does mean a lot. And even just being in stream and like chatting with me, it's like joining a part of my community, and that's what I want, you know? Like at the end of the day, I want people to just feel like they got to feel some of that love. And so if you want to just come and be a part of it, like you're welcome. We have a Discord that everyone hangs out in. It's chaotic. I join and sometimes I regret joining, and I'm like, what is wrong with you people? I literally tell them, I'm like, why do I like you guys? Because you are all so weird. But it is so fun to just be a part of. And so if you feel like you just don't belong anywhere, or you feel like any of this spoke to you, like, oh man, like I have more questions about it or anything, we have so many tabs in the Discord about mental health where everyone gets to share like their advice, or maybe they're going through something and you can relate to it. Or if you just need some friends that like gaming or anime or like Star Wars or Marvel, any of that stuff, like we're all in there too. And we're there to support each other. And if you have a dream of doing content creation or podcasting or any of that, like we'll support you. We're there to encourage you and root you on. So we all want to see each other win, and we all want to be there for each other. So it's so much more than just like, oh, come follow me, like come donate to me. Like it really is like, just come be a part. Like that's what makes me happy. That's what makes me feel like, yeah, like people had fun today. Like I'm so glad. Yay. That makes me happy. So I really appreciate it. I appreciate you having me here too. Cause I don't know if I've ever done a podcast by myself. So I think this might be the first time, like other than mine, like this might be my first one that I went and did and was a part of. So obviously there was some nerves. I was like, oh no, this is like, I hope I'm interesting because like I'm not like in a band anymore. But it was really nice, and I'm sorry if I talked too much. 2 hours is a very long time.
No, you are completely good, Lou. I've had podcasts go 2 hours in the past, so this is not uncommon for my listeners. But Lou, just thank you for allowing yourself to be who God created you to be. I am just so happy to see you thriving and just allowing yourself to be you unapologetically, authentically, genuinely. Keep doing what you're doing. And man, I'm just so pumped to see what else God has in store for you. Thank you so much again for coming on.
Of course. Thank you.
So outside of guests from season 1 and 2, I haven't been able to meet a lot of my guests in person, but they're people I've been following on social media for a while and have become emotionally invested in as I see the ups and downs of their journey. Lulu is someone who, like I said, I get legit overjoyed for because I've seen her desire to do content creation full time, and now it's happening. And I love how she talked about how God started opening up those doors for her in a season of rest instead of a season of overexerting herself. I just feel like we live in a society that's always telling us to work longer, to work harder, but that's not always what God wants to do. And that's not always how he operates. Sometimes he wants us to just rest in his presence and trust him as he works things out for our good. So I pray that encourages someone who's listening to this right now. You can follow Lulu at Ludawissy across social media and make sure to check out her podcast, the LudaCast. Like I said, I've been listening to it, and man, for just turning 19 years old, that young lady has a ton of wisdom and her words really pack a punch. So go and check it out. I'll post all the links in the show notes so you'll be able to find it easily. You can follow me on social media at TWTerryPod, the Testimonies with Terry Facebook page, and testimonieswithterry.com. That's it for this week, but I'll be back with another episode next week. In the meantime, live your life in such a way that glorifies God and kicks Satan's butt. Peace.